on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news and culture. Of course, we have our weekly movie review. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, Sir Andy?
It's going. You didn't notice I got a haircut.
Yeah, you are looking pretty spiffy today.
It's been kind of a hectic few weeks, but finally was able to squeeze in a haircut this morning.
Not bad.
Thank you. We got lots to talk about today. If you saw from the title, yes, we will be paying tribute. I mean, I didn't prepare anything visually, but we will be talking about Kevin Conroy. For those of you who don't know, he is the definitive voice of Batman for a generation. All the way back from the animated series back from the early '90s, all the way up until the most recent of Batman themed video games.
Which I brought mine out just kind of. I actually started playing the Arkham games again recently after hearing about his passing. Just they're games that I really enjoy, and it's kind of going back and what was it a couple of years ago we did animated series Batman month just to kind of because let's talk about Kevin Conroy and what these movies are like and it's same thing with the games. I play them. It's I can always. Thankfully, we do have his voice that we can always remember. And I can't read any Batman comic without his voice in my head.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any Batman comic books, but every once in a while, on social media or something, you'll see a few pages from one of the most recent books, and without fail, the parts that are the Batman dialogue, it's always in Kevin Conroy's voice. And just hearing about his death last week was just was very surprising. I was just and finding out that he had cancer of all things, I didn't even know he was that sick.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if kind of similar to what Norm Macdonald was, how he
or even Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, just been battling cancer.
Suffering in silence.
And I think he didn't want people, his fans to worry or people to, feel sorry for him. And, he was probably fighting in secret and was still, as far as I know, was still doing a bunch of stuff up until, close to the end. Because I know he'd been doing conventions and doing interviews and stuff. He was on the Michael Rosenbaum podcast not that long ago, and that was just fun learning about Kevin Conroy and how he became the voice of Batman and all of that, and just kind of really fascinating guy. And he went through a lot of tragedy early in his life and just through theater and everything. And I think it was just by pure happenstance pretty much that he became he knew the right people, and it's hey, you want to do this job to voice Batman? It's hell yeah, that sounds awesome. And he just stole the show. And it's just really sad to think about knowing that he's no longer with us, but at the same time, his voice is always with us.
Right. Yeah. So we have that in store. We'll also be talking about the Count. And no, not the Muppet character. Not the Muppet character from Sesame Street, but we're actually going to be talking about the election count.
And, you hoodwinked me.
I got you. Yeah, I know. Everyone was thinking that we were going to talk about the lovable. Vampire on the lovable resident vampire on Sesame Street.
I
You
had
know,
all
with
my just
with the numerological fetish, but sadly no.
1, 2, 2 slaps.
Yeah, but in this case, it's more like 1, 2, 3 million ballots.
Yeah.
Um, but
God.
yeah, you know, I mean, we're just gonna, put on our tinfoil hats and do some speculating. That's all, just
We're gonna be
speculating.
election deniers, apparently.
Apparently, God, you got to give it up to the left and their wordsmithery. Because when as soon as you say election denier, you automatically, I don't know about everyone, but
You think?
I think for a good amount of people, they immediately also think of Holocaust denier,
Yep.
and so
That's that. Once again, just
and
the they Bugs Bunny the language.
mhm. So yeah,
Weird.
we have that, and of course, our usual movie review, and continuing on our theme for this month, degenerate gamblers. We'll be reviewing the iconic movie Hustler, starring Paul Newman, George C. Scott, um,
Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason, of course. Yes, thank you.
Um, was it Piper Perry?
Hmm.
I think that's her name.
I think. Oh no, Piper Laurie.
Piper Laurie. Yeah, Piper Perry.
Yeah. But at towards the end of the night, because we can't just give away the shop. So
Possibly,
we got to make it work for it.
possibly the greatest degenerate gambler movie.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. You're not wrong.
It's definitely my top pool movie, pool playing movie. But like I said, yeah, like it's definitely on that Mount Rushmore of gambler movies.
Hmm.
It's fucked up, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But before we get into all that, a little bit of small talk. Rob, what you do over the weekend?
Oh, let's see. What did I do? Well, we celebrated a friend of ours had his 40th birthday this past week.
Oh, that's right.
James.
Oh my God, why does it feel like it was like three
That
months
felt
ago?
it felt like it was 4 weeks. It felt like it was a month ago already.
Yeah,
Like it's only been a few days.
I know.
I this honestly this week has been so freaking long already. Like Monday and Tuesday have just been.
I know. It's only Tuesday.
I honestly I'm worn out already. um, but yeah, no, we hung out this past Friday celebrating James' 40th.
Mhm.
Um, we haven't had a Jerks Only episode in a while, so we'll have to have James on and we
Yeah,
can maybe
schedule that
talk.
in.
Yeah, schedule that in. But yeah, we did that. I got my wife to watch Silence of the Lambs, which she loved. Um, we watched what else did we watch that she ended up liking? Oh, I got her interested in Kurt Russell. Um,
Nice.
we watched we watched one of his movies called The Breakdown, um,
Oh, is
which
that
is
the
like,
one where he's like a hitchhiker or whatever, and his wife goes
well,
missing?
his car breaks down and it's like these hillbilly kidnappers and stuff, like
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
his wife, yeah, which is like one of his much lesser known films.
Hmm.
It's kind of like how my wife got interested in Denzel Washington by watching The Bone Collector. Another like
Yeah, like really, yeah, that's like a really deep cut in his filmography.
yeah, it's like, honey, why I like if
Yeah,
I
like
tried to
not Glory, not Malcolm X,
no,
not what's another good one?
not Training Day.
Oh yeah, not Training Day. I mean, not even like not John Q, which is kind of a deep cut, but I
She
really
would
like him
like.
in that movie. She would
I
like
think she
John
would like.
Q. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then or like with like Kurt Russell, it's like nope, no Escape from New York, no
Yeah.
The Thing,
No,
no
no Big Trouble in
Big
Little
Trouble
China.
in China, no Tombstone.
Yeah, no
She
Tombstone.
got through like 5 seconds of Bone Tomahawk. She's like, I don't like this movie. I'm like, are you crazy? This movie's awesome.
Oh, it is a
I
rough
don't think
watch though.
she has a hard time. I don't think she likes westerns of any sort.
Mm.
She's like, it's set in like this olden time. It's like that's the point.
I
It's
know. It's
it's
like if it was if it was a medieval story, he's like, oh, this takes place in the medieval times, like because that's where it's set.
yeah, exactly. Um, but then but I got her to watch some good movies that way. What the hell? We watched something else too, and I honestly I've been like so tired recently. I kind of forgot, but something else that I kind of I got some time. I've been watching some noir films. I watched well when he was still Larry Fishburne. I watched one of his movies that I had never heard of before called Deep Cover. That
Uh huh.
movie is freaking dope. He him and Jeff Goldblum are together in that one.
Hey, what
That's
was it called again?
Deep Cover. It's
Deep
from
cover.
1990.
Okay, dude,
Uh,
you wanna hear a strange pairing? I forget what it's. Oh, it's called Fled, but it's Lawrence Fishburne and of all people, uh, it's Stephen Baldwin.
what? They were in a movie together?
Yeah, called Fled. Like they're
Jesus.
like two inmates, and like they're chained together, and they're on the run, and it's like they're cuffed together, and then like eventually they're separated. But I don't remember what like the plot of the story is, but I just remember, yeah,
That might be a month at some point, like, odd film pairings. Like,
yeah. Odd
there,
couples, odd couples.
yeah, Odd Couple. Yeah, there we go. Odd Couples month. Like, Chris Rock and Anthony Hopkins in a film together.
Oh yeah, what was
It,
it like? Yeah, God, what the heck is that movie called?
it's like, it's some spy movie.
Yeah,
I
like
always forget
Company
the name.
something or something Company or
Something
Bad
like
Bad
that.
Company. That's what it is.
Yep, that's what
Bad
it. Yeah,
Company.
yeah. That movie's really. It's fun though. It's good. But yeah, like Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, and Goldblum is the one of the bad guys in the film. It's really it's such, but it's really good. I also watched um, a David Mamet movie, who is more known for I think his kind of as him being like a film critic, but this one he wrote and directed called Homicide, which I found to be very fascinating. Uh, and I thought actually that when I was watching it, you would really enjoy this. Also, another very odd pairing together that I never expected these two actors to work together, but it was William H Macy and the voice of Fat Tony. God, what's his name right now? I'm drawing. My brain
Oh,
is not working today.
um,
Um,
yeah, but he was in The Godfather 3 and
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but yeah, you'll know him as the voice of Fat Tony. I can't think of his
right.
name right now, but like I didn't think that those two were in a movie together. Uh, but that there's a lot of interesting themes in that film that are explored, and you kind of you're thinking like, oh,
Oh,
it's
Joe Montana.
yeah, Joe Montana. Thank you.
No
Uh,
way. He was for a little bit. He was voiced by Phil Hartman.
the Fat Tony.
Yeah, well, that's what it says on Wikipedia.
That does I don't I call foul on that note because the Simpsons creators, like
Mm,
they essentially they said that they created Fat Tony with Joe Montana in mind. Essentially, it was a character that they wanted him to voice.
mm. Oh, it says
Um,
okay. Looking deeper into it, it says the specific episode where Phil Hartman voiced him was A Fish Called Selma.
oh yes, okay. I think you're right. That what I had to go back and watch that, but yeah, I think you might be right on that. But I think because I think they were in talks with Joe Montana, but like they weren't able to get him for that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but since then, it's been him all the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like William H Macy and Joe Montana in a film together, and you kind of it's this really weird misdirect in this movie because you expect it to be going in one direction. It's like, oh, it's gonna be one of those type of movies. But then it just flips on you. It's like, oh crap, like it's this weird. Yeah, it really like the movie hoodwinked me in a lot of ways. It's like I didn't expect them to go in that direction at the end. And I actually think that you will find the movie very fascinating.
Hmm.
Um, just kind of like where like you have particular group of people that like, oh, they're the victims, and it's like, of course they're the victims, but it turns out like that these victims are actually not really good people at the same time, and that they also are the villains of the film in a way. So it's kind of, and like the simple solution of just like where it's just because there's a crime scene, and they you have Joe Montana, who's a detective, is put on this case. He's it's all the evidence is pointing to like it's this big grand conspiracy, and in reality it was a super simple solution, and he went down this hole, and it turned out the people that he thought he was helping were actually not really good people. And had he just stuck with being a simple solution, it was just all this crazy coincidence on a bunch of stuff. And so, yeah, it was quite fascinating of a film. I really enjoyed it. Um, and I hope that, I think one day we'll definitely explore it because it's really good.
Was David Mamet the one who said that
Galaxy Quest was
Galaxy Quest was the perfect movie?
yeah, that's why I was like, okay, well, I didn't know he directed a film. I thought I know him as a film critic.
Right.
He's like a commentator on a lot of stuff going on in Hollywood. And I was like, well, shit, I'll check out this. Like, because he's also a screenwriter too,
Right.
and
Right.
so
Right.
he wrote and directed this film. And so I was like, I'll check this out. And I was actually like, at first I was like, yeah, it's okay. And then as it went on, I was like, oh, this is very interesting. And just yeah, it the whole toward at the end, it just flipped everything on its head. I was like, oh shit, this is this is actually a very complex film in a good way. The other thing I was doing too is I was also just kind of contemplating on kind of like some of the famous mythological fictional characters that we have in our um, just in our atmosphere. Like guys like Robin Hood, and specifically, and because I went down kind of like the little bit of a rabbit hole of checking out some of the different Robin Hood films. Um, Obviously, I still think the best one is The Adventures of Robin Hood from 1938 with Errol Flynn and Claude Rains and Olivia de Havilland, which is also one of Joe Montana's favorite movies. But I started to explore like some of the other ones because I'd never seen the Ridley Scott version from 2010, which
Yeah.
is
Dude,
not
that
a
guy. Yeah, I mean, not to bash Ridley Scott too much, but dude, he's been on like he can't get past Gladiator.
oh dude, like I said, when I was watching this film, it was like this felt to me. It felt like Brave, yeah, like Gladiator meets Braveheart in like the Robin Hood
In
time.
Robin Hood era,
It's so good. Like you said. Was I entertained? Were you not entertained? Yeah, I was entertained, Mr. Scott, or Sir Ridley Scott. But yeah, it's definitely like, and of course, if Russell Crowe is a star, of course,
Of
yeah,
course.
of
I know. I
course.
mean, yeah, just going beyond like the casting of Russell Crowe again in one of his movies, but it's like for some reason he just like he can't get past Gladiator. Because like even when he did that, that Ten Commandments adaptation, it was very Gladiator esque.
He did. Whoa. He did a Ten Commandments film.
Yeah, well, it's like, but he called it like Exodus.
He did. That was him.
Yeah, with Christian Bale.
Oh my God! I didn't
Yeah.
know that was a Ridley Scott film.
Wait,
Jesus
hold on. I
Christ!
don't like. Let me fact check myself just to be because
uh,
saying it out loud just Exodus, Gods and Kings. Hold on. Directed by. Yep, Ridley Scott. Okay.
Jesus, I had no idea that was a Ridley Scott film.
Surprise,
Maybe
dude! How could you not? Like, did it not give off like the air of like Gladiator?
I no, I
A
honestly
little
because
bit,
I
not even a little bit.
no, I wasn't.
Even like some of like the supernatural
I was
elements.
just like when I watched the trailer, I was like, I am not interested in this at all. Um, but I'll have to check. I'll have to check this out. Christian Bale had some really weird thoughts on that movie too, like where he likened Moses to like a terrorist. It's like what? It's like Jesus. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
I
from a certain perspective,
yeah,
yeah,
maybe from Egypt's perspective,
right.
sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, like the whole like, oh, one man's terrorist, another man's freedom fighter, blah 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 blah
It's like yeah, I was like, oh my god, whatever. But so yeah, I was a little, I was like, I'm not interested in this film. Maybe now I'll just check it out just for curiosity's sake.
blah.
Um,
Yeah, but I mean,
but yeah,
that's why I say Ridley Scott can't get past Gladiator because like all of his efforts have thus kind of been
that
Gladiator
was
esque.
that was his last best film. Because even though
Wait,
technically
which one?
I'm talking about like Gladiator was his last best movie. Like it's
Okay, yeah.
because some people would say like The Martian, like, and yes, Ridley Scott's name is attached to that film, but there's a lot of that film that he had no part in. Like he kind of came in late in the project to help finish it,
hmm
and he kind of like his name is attached as the director, but he didn't actually really have a huge hand in that
Right. He
film.
didn't. Yeah, he didn't have as much creative input in it.
No, yeah, it's this is
That's what. Yeah,
not.
and that's why like I didn't even know that Ridley Scott was like even involved.
Neither did I, because I
Yeah,
was
because
like, this.
it was like yeah, because it's like so detached from like his like usual style or or anything. Uh, but yeah, Ridley Scott cannot get past. He's trying to like capture lightning in a bottle again, and try to do like Gladiator, but like Gladiator with God and or with Moses, and then or Gladiator with Robin Hood. But it's just not working.
There's just a certain time like where it's where certain directors like after Apocalypse Now, Francis Ford Coppola was never the same. Like he had a lot of misses after Apocalypse Now. Like I think
What are you
maybe
saying? Jack is a miss? Come on.
uh, I I'm not saying I didn't enjoy the film in some ways, but it's not good.
Yeah, dude, like that. I'm so glad I was able to go to that special Academy event way back when to like hear him
Uh-huh.
talk. Because what is it? Yeah, a friend got tickets or whatever to go to the screening of Godfather Part 3, and then afterwards there was like a Q&A with some of the actors, and and then all of a sudden, this very unassuming person, I distinctly remember this. This very unassuming man with a beard and wearing like an orange polo style shirt starts making his way to the stage, and like the MC was like, "Oh, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a treat. We have the director of the movie, Francis Ford Coppola." I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And it was just, but he goes into detail about how, making the film, like making of the Godfather series, for the second one, the studios was like throwing, like they were literally driving dump trucks full of cash to his house, just like begging him to do the second one, and he's
Oh
like,
yeah,
okay,
you listen to the story of like how the original Godfather got created and like
mm,
how he had to fight every single inch to get
right,
that film made. Like all his choices were scrutinized. He was going to be fired like almost every day, and then it's like like they didn't want Marlon Brando. They don't want Al Pacino. They didn't want this guy. They didn't want this person, and he fought and fought and fought, and it was a brilliant film.
yeah,
And then when he didn't want to do a part two,
no,
he
that's
there,
right, he didn't,
and then like they like and okay, and then they convinced us, okay, we're gonna do a second one. So, but I'm not gonna direct. I'll just produce it. It's like, and he wanted to have Martin Scorsese direct,
mm,
which was one of his like kind of foundlings. You know, it was, and then it's like, no, 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 we want you to direct it. And then it's like he said, it's like, fine, I'll direct it. And it was, he said it was one of the easiest, smoothest projects I've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Turned out to be a great movie. It's,
And
some would say,
yeah,
some argue that the second one is better than the first one. I don't know if I can go that far. Like, to me, they're just connected. You can't
yeah,
separate.
right. Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, it's like total contrast though with the third one because, you know, he like he took a massive pay cut and like and again like highly scrutinized by a lot of like studio interference. But yeah, like and one of the things like he didn't want to call he didn't want to do like a trilogy because he thought like after the second one was perfect.
yeah,
And he wanted what he wanted to do was an epilogue, and he wanted to call it the death of Michael Corleone. So like connected to the Godfather world, but like its own thing.
right.
But yeah, and again, like he took like maybe like he only made a fraction of what like they were offering him to do the second one. And, it's
Yeah,
crazy. And I was like, I mean, I don't know like what I had in my mind, who like what Francis Ford Coppola looked like, but it wasn't like this kind of unassuming, old man with rocking an orange polo.
he also didn't want to call the second one Godfather Part Two. That was the one thing he was like, no, I don't want to call it Part Two. It cheapens it. And so,
Mm,
but the studio forced him to make that name, and he's like, honestly, I think that's one of the worst decisions that Hollywood has ever made because now we have like where everything is like Part Two, Part Three, Part Four, like, and you have like
yeah, yeah.
uh
I mean, it's lessened, but it's I think James Gunn like kind of for Guardians, he called it volume or whatever, or
yeah, it's like I but it's I because I think there was the only other film that I can think of that ever had a like number like a two at the end of it was uh Kurosawa's his first film, Sanshiro Sugata. uh he had a sequel to that which was part two. It was Sanshiro Sugata 2. That's it. That, like, I can't think of any other film in like definitely in like mainstream Hollywood before that film that had a two at the end of it.
mm-hmm.
And ever since then, everything's been like, oh, we have Rocky 2, we have Rocky 3, we have, and so on and so forth. And it's we've kind of, I mean, I'm sure somebody would have done it eventually, but it's just that it kind of gets tapped on to The Godfather,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. Anyways, little deviation, but yeah, you watched Robin
Anyways,
Hood.
what I was saying is like, yeah, I was kind of going down the rabbit hole of just like, oh, let me check out like all these different like Robin Hood movies because there's a whole shitload of them. I started watching like the Kevin Costner one from like '91 with like Alan Rickman and
Yeah, and obviously
Morgan
that one is the
Freeman.
best one. Come on
It is by far one of the worst.
now.
I
Come
really,
on, it's one of the best. Come on.
you know, I like Kevin Costner to a degree, but like there's so many of his films where I'm like, why are you in this? Like, I'm glad you got work, but like, Jesus Christ, he is so like, you're not right for this film at all. Like, he's
Yeah,
not
I know.
there's not the only I just it blows my mind. He just because Kevin Costner's not playing a different character. He's
He's
playing Kevin
playing Kevin
Costner
Costner. Yeah,
himself. He's the same
yeah,
person in every film he's in.
yeah.
It's
I know that's the same criticism for Ryan Reynolds. It's not Ryan Reynolds playing Hal Jordan. It's Ryan Reynolds playing Ryan Reynolds.
yeah,
The only time it works is when he's playing Deadpool because he's basically Deadpool.
yeah, it works like you said. There's not like I'm not looking to some like drama to oh, Ryan Reynolds is in this drama. Let's watch this. This is gonna be good. It's like, no, because he's not. It's he doesn't have that gear. Kevin Costner does not have that gear. There's certain films that he's good in, and then there's other films where it's like, why are you in this? Because he is not good in the Prince of
Yeah,
Thieves.
right. And
Uh,
yeah, and even like yeah, and even the
Alan Rickman is
the non English accent notwithstanding. He just.
I don't care about that so much,
Mhm.
but like, um, I mean, Morgan Freeman is like he's like this, from like the Holy Land, and like he's kind of this
Yeah,
someone.
he's a, what they call him, a Moor, a Moor.
Yeah, he's a Moor that was saved by Robin Locksley, and it's like
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
like one thing about like this the story of Robin Hood is like outside of, okay, you have your certain characters, but you can, with the story like that, you can you can fudge the details. So I don't really care about like the, because the story itself is like it's still good, but the casting in that film is so terrible. Like no, the only person that seems to fit is Alan Rickman in that film. It's like,
Yeah, and it's like so great because he's like he doesn't give a fuck. He's like hamming it up to like the nth
oh, he's great.
degree, and
Yeah.
he just doesn't care. He's like I'm getting my paycheck.
And I wonder if that's where, like, after, because this came out before the Mel Brooks comedy of like
Yeah, Men
um
in Tights.
Men in Tights. After watching this, I'm pretty sure that's what inspired Mel Brooks. Like, yeah, you can
Oh yeah,
cast
obviously.
her like, and you're trying to make a serious film. It's like, but it's not. It's like, well, I'm just gonna make a comedy version of Robin Hood. It's like, and it's great.
Yeah,
Men in Tights is one of the great comedies.
yeah,
Um,
and Carrie Elwes, I believe, is
yeah,
it's so great because he would he's basically Errol Flynn reincarnated.
oh, he's great. Oh, he's so, yeah.
You know.
That's exactly, he looks the part and play. He is kind of like, yeah, hamming it up like Errol Flynn is.
Mm,
But yeah, I just I kind of went down that rabbit hole, and kind of similar to like the idea of like the Knights of the Round Table.
mm,
It's a story that has been told over time, and like you've added, the characters have been added, part elements of the story have been added, and it's one of those things where you have your characters, you have like kind of like the basic skeleton of the story, but you can kind of like you can fudge around with it. And so one film to the other, like, okay, there's all these Camelot films, there's all these Robin Hood films, but you can watch them and they're different, and they're not like the same thing.
mm.
So I was like, it's kind of interesting. I love the 30s version. But I was like, yeah, let me check out the Ridley Scott one and check out the Kevin Costner one. And um, the Ridley Scott one is good. It's not, it's flawed by for sure, but it's way more entertaining than the Kevin Costner one. That's for damn sure.
I haven't seen the entirety of the Ridley Scott one, but the ending was really weird.
Well, so that his version, I wonder if they had a sequel in mind, because this is like how
Yeah, the origin story.
Robin, how he became Robin Hood, because he was not Robin Hood throughout this movie. I mean, the
Right.
characters were there, but it wasn't. This was before like Sherwood Forest and all that shit. Um,
Yeah, this would basically be like like Batman, but like Batman like the training years.
like year one, yeah. This is
Yeah.
like Robin Hood year one. It's God, it's uh, and yeah, I don't think it did well enough to warrant a sequel. That's why it didn't happen. Now, like the new one, there's another one that came out, was it 4 years ago, with the kid from the Kingsman.
Yeah, that one.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I wonder, how that one's going to be, or if like they're trying to like kind of recreate the Ridley Scott version or what.
Yeah, it's kind of like I haven't seen it, but
I haven't seen.
I've seen clips, and I've seen like kind of essays on it, and it's definitely trying to make parallels with like the Crusades and like with the most recent like War on Terror. Um,
Oh Jesus, yeah, because, well, the was it the Prince of Thieves, that also deals with that too, like where it starts off with them in the Holy Land,
mm,
and like the Crusade, it's at the time of the Crusades.
mm.
I was like,
Yeah, but I
this.
mean, this one's like more like the most recent one with the Taron Egerton is less subtle because because they make them look like like contemporary soldiers, like the way they use like bows and arrows, like like they're holding like M4s or whatever, and
Oh, Jesus Christ. So
yeah.
stupid.
So it's like, yeah, and like again, like kind of like making like digs at capitalism and like the haves and have-nots and da da da. Da. I mean, I'm kind of interested, but like only because like I want to see like what kind of propaganda they like how bad really is the propaganda in the movie.
Yeah, it's like I'm curious enough to watch it. I might do that, sometime this week. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know why I kind of went down this kind of weird, rabbit hole of like I haven't seen this. Let's check this out. Like, let's see how different people do, like, kind of like telling the same story. Like, how do they handle it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they have obviously like a lot of the characters are there, but like all the stories are very different in a lot of ways. So I find that kind of fascinating that you can have a tale like that um, everyone can kind of have their own footprint on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But that was my week. I didn't expect us to talk about Robin Hood this.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's a it's a wild time here on this stream.
Or you can watch the Jackie Chan version, Robin B. Hood.
Really, he made a
Yeah, he's he has a movie, Robin B. Hood. I have not
wow.
seen it, but I'd be like, well, it's probably gonna be fun.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of want to find that movie where he like dresses up as all the Street Fighter characters.
What?
Yeah, there's like a fight scene in like a like kind of like a Japanese style like bathhouse, kind of like the fight location for E Honda.
Honda? What the hell?
Yeah, and like he literally like yeah he like does like goes through like these transformations and he becomes like all the characters. Like even he dresses up like Chun Li.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he dresses up as Guile. He dresses up as uh Chun Li. I think he does E Honda. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, he does a lot of the Street Fighter characters.
What the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. Just go later, or just go to YouTube and type Jackie Chan Street Fighter.
I gotta check this out. This like it sounds. I'm very curious.
Yeah, it's a good
But that's
one.
been my week.
Yeah, my week, more the same, just different days. Um, yeah, of course, this past weekend, or we went, for James's birthday, had a good time. Although I mean, I know you had to go home early, but your
Yeah.
wife was criticizing us for like yawning too much or whatever.
Oh, she kept calling you guys old men. It's like
Yeah, it's like it's late and I'm tired. All
now
right.
had it been like where had I not had to leave early and go to work,
Mm,
I probably would have stayed out
mm,
later, much later. But
mm.
yeah, it's like yeah, well, you know what, honey, we kind of all do a lot of stuff, and it's we can't hang out till like 2 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning anymore. It's just yeah, I
Yeah,
can't
I
do it.
mean, yeah, like if it were like if it were like 2 3 years ago, I'd still probably be down, because I actually was still going out like 3 years ago and hanging out and getting into all sorts of monkey shines, but it's but with like the lockdowns and everything and everyone being like super paranoid or whatever about the sniffles, it's a different time now, and also like I'm in a different place in my life where I'm like doing I have a lot more responsibilities, and so and I'm also making like different like just like healthy like habit sort of things, like just not staying up past 12, at the least. That's why that's when people ask me like what time do you go to sleep. I just say I just don't stay up past 12, and so
Yeah, I can't really do that much either anymore. Like most of the time, I'm in bed most of the time by like well this Tuesday I stay up a little bit later, but yeah, like I don't really I go to bed like around like 10 o'clock at the latest.
mm, Yeah, and and pretty much after this, I'm, with the exception of like, grabbing a few quick bite to eat, and then I'm out because I gotta wake up early tomorrow because I'm in charge of my church's mobile shower ministry, so I gotta get out the door and and make breakfast and whatever, and yeah, but it's I'm a part of me is sad that I can't hang, but another part a wiser part of me just doesn't care.
Yeah, it's man. There are, like I said, there are a few occasions where like if when I don't have to like work the next day and like I have that energy to stay up, like I will.
Right.
Just because like okay, I'm enjoy like maybe I'm watching something or I'm playing like a game or something like that,
Mhm.
then it's like okay, I'll stay up. And so on those occasions sometimes yeah, I'll stay up till like 3 or 4. But that's so rare nowadays. I don't like I actually cherish when I do have that energy, but like
Mhm.
a lot of times now, like I just can't do it. It's yeah, yeah, we're old. It's
Yeah,
okay.
but also like this was kind of last minute, and nothing was like planned, set plan. It was just like we're just getting together and we're gonna just, do we're just gonna go where the night takes us, and we got to K Town, but it's
Just wasn't happening.
it just wasn't happening. We tried to go to like different bars or whatever, and we ended up going to like another like restaurant, and where your wife proceeded to eat like a horse.
That she does.
Yeah, because like, yeah, she didn't eat at the place where we all ate, like you, me, and James, but she did eat at the at the other place, and we had and then we ordered like a couple of beers, for the table, and yeah, that was the night. It's still enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. It's not like it has to be like back in the day, and like you have to rage out and
Yeah.
yeah, and stay up until the wee hours of the morning or whatever. But
We're
yeah,
gonna stay out till the sun comes up. It's like, no, it's just can't do that no more.
yeah, it's like that episode of Friends, where they yeah, what is it? Ross and Chandler, like they have a college friend and they have like all these memories of these wild times, and but the friend isn't able to make it, so and they're kind of bummed because they're like, oh, we're gonna go on this crazy adventure, and then Joey's like, oh, no, no, we'll we can still have those, we can still have that adventure, and then like it's like only like 10 o'clock and everyone's like tired and like, oh, like I don't want to be in, and
Yeah.
everything was sticky and gross, and it's like and like they kind of get sad and they're like, oh man, what's become of us? And it's like it's not that we become sad and pathetic. It's just because we're just old.
Yeah, what was it? I remember there's an episode of like Home Improvement, like where Tim's like has like this old college buddy that's like, kind of this diehard like party guy.
Mm,
And it's like, oh man, like yeah, the wild times, like yeah, I got us a 30 pack, and we're just gonna woo, and it's like I can't do that. I have a wife and 3 kids, and it's
yeah,
just
I got a
it's just I
mortgage.
can't. Yeah, I can't be doing stuff like that. It's like, and Jill's getting mad at Tim for like kind of like wanting to hang out with this guy. It's like, hey, this guy is like overstaying his welcome. He's kind of being a jerk. And Tim's neighbor, uh, God, what the hell was his name?
Wilson.
Wilson, thank you. Where he was saying it's like, he's talking, it's like, yeah, I've been friends with this guy for like 20 years, and it's like I don't want to be rude, but the same. And when he Wilson says like, well, has he been your friend for 20 years, or was he your friend 20 years ago?
Mm.
And it's like yeah, it's you can it's sure
Yeah,
you were
sometimes
friends
yeah,
with him.
sometimes you outgrow your friends, and
Yeah, that
it
that
happens.
happens too.
Mm.
um I think in a lot of ways though, like we're all kind of in you, me, James, like we're all kind of DJ, we're all in the same boat where it's just like, fuck, I can't, we're too old. Like, yeah, it's like 10 o'clock. It's like, oh man, we're having a good time, but like, man, I'm tired. You guys tired? Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. Let's go
Yeah,
home.
yeah, and like the next morning, I had to like get up, and I had to get up early and uh, you know lead the homeless outreach that I do with my church. So again, just another example of more responsibilities. And so
Yeah.
so it's not that I didn't want to like stay up, but it's like I knew I had to wake up early, so maybe subconsciously I was like I was pumping the brakes and in my mind, and so like it was making me tired because I knew I had to wake up early, and so you know and I know, and I feel bad for your wife, because I know she doesn't get to go out, all that often, and when she heard that we were going out, she's like that little dog when you say go for walks, and she's like starts running around and like her tail
She
wags
has
like all crazy.
I always liken her. She's like a puppy, and it's like we're going out.
Yeah, no, exactly. He just like go walkies, and then like starts yipping and like, running around in circles,
grab,
running
grab
around
the.
running around the entire room, and coming back. It's like walkies, walkies, and really excited.
It's
Um,
like, oh my gosh, yeah, she's definitely like that.
yeah.
Uh,
But
I always make
yeah,
fun.
that was my weekend. This coming week is gonna suck a little bit.
Yeah, you said you were like pretty like busy with like a bunch of stuff this week.
Yeah.
You got a lot of
But
family stuff coming up. That's right.
yeah, maybe not. Yeah, I might. That plans might have changed. But that doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't mean that I'm gonna be free. I'm just gonna be busy, but in a different way. But that's a little bit of like behind the scenes stuff that I
Yeah.
don't want to bore our audience with. So with all that said, let's get into the topics.
Next week you'll listen to us like on how we sleep and and
I
like
know. And what's the best position for your sciatica?
yeah.
I know.
Oh
I know.
my
I
god.
can't. I know. It's like, yeah, we should rename this like to Grumpy Old Men. The
There's a
Grumpy
movie.
Old Men podcast.
Hey, there's a movie we need to review at some point.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
God,
What
that
was it?
movie's awesome.
Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon,
Yeah, and
the original Odd Couple.
because that was one I think one of their last movies together. I mean, they had Grumpier Old Men, which was not as good, but the first
Yeah.
one, I mean, 4 years later, Walter Matthau dies, so
Yeah.
it's kind of that was also the one. Those films were also, I think, the last films for Burgess Meredith too.
Mm. Mm. Yep.
You'll know him as Mickey.
Yeah, Mickey. Or for those, probably not. No, probably not in our audience. But he was also the Penguin on
That's
the
true.
Batman TV show, where with Adam West.
That well, I remember him as that role, but I know most people remember him as Mickey from
Right.
Rocky.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was those two films were his last films too. They all died pretty much soon after that.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia Loren was in that. I think the first one. She still looks really good, even though she
Yeah.
was like in her 60s or 70s in that film.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I remember her in was uh, that Legally Blonde movie.
The first one,
Yeah.
I haven't. I don't think I've seen parts of Legally Blonde. I've never actually like sat
Sat
down
through.
and
You're not really missing much.
watched it. I'm not
Like
a big.
I only watched it because I was in high school and one of the like Smurfette of my guy group like wanted to watch it, so we had to watch it.
I'm not a huge Reese Witherspoon person.
I mean, not everyone is. I'm not saying that I am, but
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just like it's like when I think about it, it's like what else has she been in that I was like that I've like actually liked, and I was like I can't think of anything to be honest.
yeah, because Reese Witherspoon's kind of odd because she had like some success as like a child actor,
Yeah,
and then like the only really big thing as an adult that she did was Legally Blonde. Um,
that's her big claim to fame. I think when you think of her, you think that that character, which is
exactly.
fine. And that's fine. congratulations to her. I'm glad
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
she
mean,
had.
yeah, she played June Carter Cash in the biopic, for Johnny Cash,
That's right, with Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix. That's right.
Walk the line.
hmm
Um,
But other than that, yeah, and then like, yeah, that's about it. I mean, I know she has that. She's doing that show for Apple TV with Jennifer Aniston,
yeah, I don't know anything.
but yeah, nothing like really big. And then she did like those kind of like middling films with Vince Vaughn.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
I
has
don't.
such a weird career too.
Yeah, because like I think he had like he had the trajectory of kind of like an up and comer, but he kind of did it. He went and started doing his own thing, which is fine, I think.
I like Vince Vaughn. I think he's a good actor. Um, I think he started off doing a lot of comedy, but then he's definitely transitioned away from that. Has done much more serious stuff.
Actually, he started off doing more serious stuff. Because
Oh,
what is it?
the first role I remember him in is in that the awful remake of Psycho,
Uh huh.
which
Right.
is
Yeah, and
competent.
then he was also in the sequel to Jurassic Park.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Okay,
Uh,
never mind.
and then he I
Went,
think
then it
I
was
think he was in that I think he was in that suspense uh suspense thriller with John Travolta, like Stepfather or something, where he plays like
I
divorced couple, and he's like he's the stepfather, and he's like really like the psycho killer. At least
mm.
I'm at least I think. Hold on, let me just.
Oh, is that the remake of the Stepfather with the? Because I did watch that this weekend with Terry O'Quinn, the original one from '87, which is fucking terrifying.
Mm,
Um, but I wonder if that was a remake of that.
yeah, hold on. Oh, domestic disturbance. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay. The
Yeah, but he
yeah,
plays like, yeah, he's a stepdad, and like he's John Travolta was the dad, and Vince Vaughn's a stepdad, and you know he's a psycho killer or whatever. Oh, but it came out in 2001.
yeah. I don't remember that film at all.
Huh.
Um, he's been doing some. He was in a couple of the Craig Zoller films, like the guy who did Bone Tomahawk.
Mm,
I think he's in Drive Against Concrete with Mel Gibson. I have not seen that one. But
mm,
he's also in was it what's the one? It's like against like Cell Block 99 or something like that. He's actually really good in that film.
mm,
That is a whew, that is a gory film. I'll just say that.
mm.
But but it's not like where it's like it's just gratuitous gore for no reason. It does play a purpose. Um, but yeah, I was like, oh shit, that's gross.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, we spent an hour talking about our weekend and just nonsense, but anyways,
Sometimes,
sometimes that's what happens.
hey, you know what? Because I wanted to talk about something like a little bit more lighthearted. Because the other stuff that we're talking about is like, it's such a it's depressing a little bit.
Yeah, and also like how long can we really? I mean, I know you and I could keep going on, but how long can we really talk about Kevin Conroy? Like just as a practical matter, because we have other stuff to talk about.
Yeah, well, I mean, we like I said, we I just wanted to touch on it for like a little bit, just
Hmm
because I think the man deserves it.
Oh yeah, of course, no doubt, no
Um,
no doubt from no, yeah, from me.
um, but yeah, I mean, we have talked about Kevin Conroy in the past. We did our Batman the Animated Series movie month. We did like Mask of the Phantasm and uh, all of those films, and
Yeah, like
just
like Justice League, Justice League. What's that? Is it War?
yeah, I
Justice
think
League
that
War. Yeah,
um, and
yeah.
yeah,
It's but yeah, Kevin Conroy. for many people the definitive voice of Batman. Um, and actually a very overlooked innovator in that he was the first one to implement the two voices, the Bruce Wayne voice and the Batman voice. And I think we lost Rob. Hold on. Stand by. Yep. Stand by. See if we can.
60s version where it's like it's the same voice. Like
I'm sorry.
it's
Wait,
kind
hold
of
on.
like,
You
oh,
froze up right there for a second.
oh. What I'm saying was that in the past, like with we have obviously had the what you would call it, the Adam West Batman, where it's like essentially it's like, oh, you just put on a cape and cowl, and it's like, but you're the same. It's the same
It's the same
voice, same
voice. It's like, yeah,
person,
like, oh,
kind of
you're
thing.
completely different people.
Even like to a lesser extent, even the Michael Keaton Batman kind of had the same thing, although his Bruce Wayne is horrible. He was a good Batman, but like his Bruce Wayne is he's so no. I think he's terrible as Bruce Wayne, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah.
not as
I
bad.
don't think I don't think Kevin Conroy gets the credit or enough credit. But yeah, he was the one to I believe first implement the dual voices.
Yeah, and where it's like he's much more like kind of soft and kind as his
Yeah, it's
in
like more
his Bruce
bright.
Wayne.
Yeah, more bright in his voice for Bruce
Yeah,
Wayne, and then more like hard and grizzled for Batman.
yeah, and a lot of people made fun of Christian Bale's version of like doing that with like Batman and
Yeah, the
Bruce
back
Wayne.
growl. Yeah, the back growl.
Yeah, but I like that. But that's kind of like what it makes sense to do something like that where
Yeah.
you have to change your voice.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with the Ben Affleck version, we get like the voice modulator,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is also I think it was a
which I think they took from the Arrowverse.
yeah, and it's like that's it's like but he Kevin Conroy was really kind of the innovator in that, and I think it got with the success of the animated series, you know, it changed Batman forever. And
Mm.
not the actual movie Batman Forever, which sucks ballsack, but although it's still better than Batman and Robin, which is the absolute worst Batman film.
Yeah,
I would,
because the director Joel Schumacher, he was talking about like how he wanted to lean into the campiness from like the '60s version, but it's like, but
it just,
you're still keeping the aesthetic of the Burton Batmans.
it's
So
like those two worlds do not mix.
exactly,
It's like it's so it wasn't funny. It didn't like at least like with the Batman 60 the 60s Batman movie. That's fun. You have fun watching that film. Like
right?
same with
It's
like
like
watching
Batman running around with a bomb and just like he kind of just like um, what's it laments like sometimes you just can't get rid of a
can't get
bomb.
rid of it's yeah. But see, you enjoy that. It's fun. You laugh at it. It's great. Same thing with the series. And then like now we got this dark grizzled Batman from '89, and like
Mhm.
everyone likes that. And it's like okay, it's like it's not as I don't think it holds up as well today, but it's still a lot of people hold that up. It's like yeah, this is Batman, and but
Mhm.
then yeah, Joel
Which is fun.
Schumacher comes in and like he's trying to do both at once, and it's like it's not campy enough to be like funny,
Mhm.
and it's not hardcore enough or grizzled enough to be like serious. So it's just like this weird middle ground where like it helps no one is satisfied.
Right, yeah.
Bat nipples. Yeah,
Bat
yeah.
nipples.
Put some nipples on the
Yeah, because
suit.
yeah, that was the linchpin for the entire
So
series.
I think they did that in Batman Forever, but people forget because there's like they're more pronounced in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that's right.
The
And
only
it's really interesting though. I mean, not to deviate too far, but when Tim Burton made his Batman, he wasn't even a Batman fan. He totally admits to that.
he did his own thing.
Yeah, he did his own thing, which is fun.
It-
Which is and it oddly enough worked.
yeah, he Tim Burton kind of did like this he to me is like kind of the the evolution of German expressionism. Like if you watch like any like Tim Burton produced or directed movies,
Mm.
how everything is kind of like kind of like weird, oddly shaped, like where it's like it's almost the scenery is a character, similar to like
Yeah.
Dr. Caligari and like stuff like that. He is a German. He's embodied that German expressionism in all
Yes.
his stuff.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good way of putting his aesthetic. Yeah.
But yeah, but yeah, Kevin Conroy doesn't always get the credit I think he deserves as being like kind of the innovator for Batman.
Mm.
Uh, I know I can't read a Batman comic or without hearing his voice. Um, and for me as a gamer, like of course when I heard that like because there's been some good Batman games in the past. Like the NES Batman is a very difficult game, but a fun one. There's a Batman the animated series game on like Super Nintendo, which is pretty decent. But then like on PlayStation 3, they came out with Batman Arkham Asylum. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not really sure if it's gonna be like any good. But then I heard like oh, it's gonna have all the Batman the Animated Series voice actors reprising their roles. Like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to check that out. And yeah, I got that, um, and it was really good. And then they just dialed it up to 11 in the next game. Like they ended up creating a trilogy. Like now, then they did Arkham City,
Mm.
which is I think everyone's favorite in the franchise. And then it concluded with Batman Arkham Knight, and now they came out with Gotham Knights, which just recently came out. But it was like, oh, it doesn't have Batman. I was like, that's an odd choice. And I thought like they were trying to do like some like woke thing, like, oh, we don't need Batman. We're gonna highlight these other characters and all this stuff. It's like,
Mm.
and I was thinking, it's like that's kind of weird. That why wouldn't they want to have you know this Kevin Conroy reprise the role, like and cut. Okay, like you want to have it like where you can play as the other characters. That's fine. They were doing that in Arkham City and Gotham Knight a little bit,
Mm.
but it played into the story. And I figure it's like, oh, they're gonna do kind of the same thing with Gotham Knights. And when I heard he's not in it, it's like, man, that's really weird. Like, why? Like, was there some contract dispute? Did they just like, oh, fuck you, Kevin Conroy. We don't want you in our game. We're gonna highlight our other characters. We don't need you. And then it comes out that like, oh, he when he died, it's like, oh, I didn't know he was sick. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Like, I wonder if just like in the last few years that they were working on the game, he just maybe didn't have the energy to really go through the because people don't realize like it's not just sitting in a mic and
Right.
and
I
just like
mean,
in line.
if you
Well,
just go from the like the footage of that when Robin Williams was doing voice stuff, like he it's like
it's
it's very active. It's like he's in trying to embody the action. Kind of like even with the voiceover work of what's his face, Bradley Cooper, when he did Rocket the Raccoon. Like when he was doing the dialogue, he was like getting like expressive with the hand gestures and like his body and everything. So it's not just just someone sitting on a stool inside of a studio and just giving lines. But
yeah, this isn't Krusty the Clown reading a bunch of lines like, "Hey, hey," it's like I
hey,
was like,
hey, here's the Mel, here's Sideshow Mel, here's Sideshow Mel.
yeah, yeah, it's not that. It's these guys really work hard and like it is a very physically demanding thing. Like that's why the animated series was so popular because you can tell that all the people that were there were doing working their ass off.
Mhm.
And they were doing real acting. It just happened to be like yeah, we don't get like the motion capture of their bodies per se, but I guarantee that, yeah, like, yeah, Robin Williams as the genie in Aladdin, he's going all over the place. They probably had that whole room mic'd, and he's like probably bouncing off the walls
Mhm.
because that's how crazy Robin Williams is. Like that's how good he is.
Mhm.
And same thing with this, Kevin Conroy, like who he's a theater guy. you know he's doing some real acting in there. Like, and he even said that there were certain times like where some of the episodes, yeah, he's like, man, we went to places here like where like because some of these episodes are really dark, and it's you know I fully embraced this character, and I felt like I became Bruce Wayne. I became Batman, and some of these episodes were hard to deal with, and yeah, there was times where I had a hard time with it, and so yeah,
Yeah, yeah, like that
it
one episode where it dealt with like those kids in like the sewers and stuff. And it's like, dude,
oh
that was some real ass shit.
yeah, and like I think that was one of the episodes he was talking about. Like yeah, you go to a certain place, and as an actor, and you know it's kind of that method school of acting, but like yeah, you do go to a real place, and you think upon things in your life that you can bring to that role, and it is tough for I can see where that could be really tough. Um, so I think definitely in more recent years, people started to realize, yeah, this voice acting has become really a big thing,
Oh
especially
yeah,
now with like a lot of the CGI stuff, and I think people are starting to realize that it is a tough. It's still acting. It's just a different version of it, but
right.
you're still putting in hard work. I mean,
Yeah,
they're working just as hard as someone that's on a on the big screen or like on television where it's
yeah,
live action. You're still
yeah,
working just as hard.
yeah. That's very interesting. Just recently, my cousin encouraged me to go and try out for voice acting. Because we were together and I was doing funny voices for one of my nieces,
Yeah.
and then she was like, you're really good at this. You should try out and or whatever. And she actually went as far as to find some like listings and stuff for like for open tryouts or whatever. I feel bad because I didn't look into it, but perhaps I will.
You know what? I concur, dude. I think you could do it.
Yeah, I know because I do a really good. I mean, I don't like yeah, I do like fun. I do fun characters. I come up with very fun characters. Like Mike Fong, financial planner, or yeah, or I could do a really good imitation of like Frank Welker's like Doctor Claw from Inspector Gadget. You know,
Oh yeah.
uh, but none I'm gonna do right now. But
Yeah.
maybe if we get up to 100 subscribers, maybe I will. Just saying.
No, there we go.
And again, we don't normally beg for subscribers here, but maybe this is one time. If we get up to 100, I mean, I know it's kind of pathetic that we're admitting this, but yeah, we're not even at 100 subscribers. We've been doing this for like what 7 years
Hey, you know what? But
or
I
five
don't.
years? No, 5 years. Sorry, 5 years.
Yeah. But we'll get there.
We'll get there. I'm in no
But yeah,
rush. I'm in no rush, as they say.
yeah. But like I said, I just wanted to take a few minutes out of our to put it on the schedule to talk about Kevin Conroy, give him his
Yeah.
due. Um, we thankfully we do have his voice that we can always go back to the animated series. We can go back to the Arkham Asylum games, and we can
Yeah,
still
we can
he
go to
put
the
out
we can still go to the DC animated universe where he
yeah
still he still did a lot of the voices like Justice League Most Wanted, um, the well eventually they put it out as one hour long movie, but Best of Both Worlds, which was the Batman Superman crossover event
oh
in the
dude, that was
in the
so
animated,
good.
that was really great.
That was
I
fucking
was like
great.
so excited.
I was like, well, like when they finally merged, I was like, yes, oh,
Right?
this is gonna be great.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but and then if you want to learn more about like the guy, like I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of like interviews and stuff that he did out there.
Hmm.
But I think one, if you really want to learn about the man, not to push someone else's podcast, but Michael Rosenbaum, who we've talked about on, who we'll be talking about him in a couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Oh, for those of you
Um,
who don't know, he also did the voice for the Flash in the animated series.
that's right. Yeah, who that's the connection there.
Hmm.
But Kevin Conroy was on his podcast, Inside of Me with Michael Rosenbaum,
Hmm.
and he like Kevin Conroy talks about his past and like how some of the things that he went through growing up, going through like becoming like he was a theater guy and like kind of how his career got started, how he became the voice of Batman,
Hmm.
and it's really fun. It's really fascinating. He's such you can tell he's just like this kind-hearted guy.
Yeah, he's very genuine. He's very genuine.
Yeah, and I was like, I was so happy to hear to hear that interview because like, man, like I knew I liked this guy, but like I liked him like 10 times more after listening to that interview. I was like,
Hmm.
he just seemed like such a cool, and he was always so like he would go to all these conventions and he never got tired of it. He's like, yeah, I'm Batman. I love it, and he embraced it.
Hmm.
He was so excited that people came to go see him, that they loved his voice,
Hmm.
and that he defined an era.
Yeah.
And he never like, oh fuck, why am I at this convention? Why do these like I'm so tired of the fans? Like he never was like that with anybody.
Right.
So well, we'll miss Kevin Conroy, but he
Yeah.
will always be with us.
Yeah. Any favorite episodes or like particularly favorite games that he voiced?
Well, Arkham City is definitely the best game of the three.
Hmm.
I think it definitely goes. Yeah, it's really good. Um, I would say that's the best Batman game. If I had to say like an episode that I really liked, of the well, I love the movie. The Mask of the Phantasm, I think, is really awesome. I still think that is my favorite Batman movie.
Hmm.
Of the episodes, like I said, the one with the sewer kids. Yeah, that was. I also like the one where Adam West played
The Gray Ghost. Yeah.
like a ghost.
That
Yeah,
was
that was one.
so. Oh man, that was so beautiful.
Um, I really like that. And then I think like when the Justice League when they started doing the Justice League
Uh,
initially, like there were some of those episodes there too that I thought were really good.
dude,
Um,
I think nothing was better than when Batman got to be snarky,
oh
and
yeah,
that was in Justice League.
yeah. That's why I think that's why I enjoyed those episodes so much.
Hmm.
So, the one where I think there's a one of the Justice League episodes like where they're fighting against they're helping out Wonder Woman like kind of fighting. There's I forget who the villain was in the episode, but it was like a two-part or whatever. But essentially, like they're fighting against this like Greek god or like demon
Oh
or
yeah,
something like that.
I think it's fighting Ares.
Yeah, Ares. Yeah, that episode is really good too.
Mm.
Um, but honestly, like I think they're all really good. Like him and Mark Hamill together were so as Mark Hamill is the Joker.
Hmm.
Man, those two together, they put in some great work.
Oh yeah.
Um, so like all the Joker episodes are really fantastic, and even like him trying to help like Dr. Freeze and uh or yeah, Mr. Freeze.
Nope, we lost them. Stand by. Did we? Are you back? Okay, you're blinking. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Just repeat that last
did you
bit.
lose me?
Yeah, you froze up
Oh
there for a
no,
second. Yeah, Mr.
no,
Freeze.
just like yeah, like those episodes, like because where he genuinely like wants to help him and like
Right.
help his wife.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like those are a little bit like of heartbreaking episodes too.
Yeah.
Um,
Dude, you know who voiced Mr. Freeze?
who?
I forget who the actor's name, what the actor's name was, but he played Kang on the original Star Trek.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I forget. I'm gonna look it up his name right now, but yeah, it was him.
No
The
kidding.
voice of Mr. Freeze is the actor who played Kang on Star Trek.
No way.
All right, hold on. And that actor was Michael and Sarah.
Wow. I had no idea.
Yeah, but he has such a distinctive voice though that it's like, when I think
That
back on it, it's like, oh yeah, of course.
yeah, like when that's all it's one of those like same thing like when I think of Mr. Freeze, that's the Mr. Freeze I go to is the
Hmm.
animated series version.
Yeah, because like the original like the comic book Mr. Freeze is like he was very hammy and like even like there was a Mr. Freeze on the '60s Batman show too, and he was like kind of like the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing
Yo,
where
yeah.
like with the puns and just like this real like really fourth rate member of Batman's rogue gallery, but you know credit where credit's due. But Paul Dini and those guys who did the animated series, they really elevated Mister Freeze um, to like
Yeah.
to like I guess like S tier character.
Oh yeah, and yeah, it's he's so good and it's yeah, because before like the Joel Schumacher version of
Yeah. Which
Mr.
is so
Freeze
sad
was
because because they took elements from the backstory that the animated
yeah,
series created, but they went in with like they went campy with it.
yeah, it's like what killed off the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. It's like,
Yeah,
oh my, it's like
yeah, it's
just
like
stop.
chill.
Yeah. It's like it's stop it. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, like the animated series, like the backstory behind Mister Freeze is so, and that's what I mean. I know we're kind of getting off a little bit of that, but that's what made the animated series so great. Is because they added elements of tragedy to the villains, which made them like sympathetic.
Yeah. Harley Quinn wasn't a character until
And she was
uh
created specifically for the animated series.
yeah, and now she's like part of
Now,
like,
yeah, now she's a staple character.
hell, even like something we're also forgetting too is Kevin Conroy playing old Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. That's a
That's right.
fucking with the older brother from Boy Meets
Yeah,
World
Will
as
Friedle.
in it. Yeah, yeah, he's great too.
Mm.
He that's another guy we don't think of as a great voice actor. He's really good
Mm.
because
And
he
for some
kind of
of and so for those who are younger, he voiced Ron Stoppable in the Kim Possible animated
oh,
TV
did
show.
he do that too?
Yeah, he
I
was
didn't know.
Ron. He was Ron Stoppable.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, that makes sense now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, I didn't put those two together.
Together,
But
yeah.
uh, yeah, like Batman Beyond, that was its whole special creation, and they ended up creating comics in the Batman Beyond universe after the
That's
success of
right.
the show.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, just Kevin Conroy is just grizzled, angry, old
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Wayne, because
Mm-hmm.
that's where like, um, we talk about how like the Batman is the real persona, and like, we're like, he is angry and like he is Batman. Whereas like, where Clark Kent is like the real persona, and like Superman is like what he dons. Uh, this is like when you see Batman Beyond, Bruce Wayne has become like his Bruce Wayne has become Batman. Like the two have merged, even though he's no longer doing the
Capable,
work
yeah.
of Batman. Yeah, he's kind of he's become like the Oracle was like, so he's helping
Right
to
behind the scenes, helping him troubleshoot stuff.
yeah, but God, that was so good, and it's just
Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
actually, that like Batman Beyond is how you successfully do like the whole like mantle thing. Because I do have a problem with the whole like like Falcon is now Captain America. It's like, oh, well, it's just the mantle, bro. I do kind of have a problem with that, but I think Batman Beyond is a very successful way of doing the whole mantle idea.
what you mean like where it actually makes fucking sense.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, imagine that.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and again, like and props, and again, I give props to the Japanese because they're able to, basically use like the like maybe like seven like templates of like a hero, but then still like crank out year after year like original like stories.
I don't know how they do it, but yeah, they do it.
Yeah, seriously. And I mean, and like, and everyone hits me with like, oh, it's a mantle. That's why Falcon become Captain America. It's like
Yeah,
that's
but
not the
you have
point because like
it's
we as the audience know that Steve Rogers is Captain America and Captain America is Steve Rogers. So it doesn't.
exactly.
So it doesn't matter that like it's the mantle. Yeah, maybe it is a mantle, but it's like try to make that work in like Japanese manga where you have Goku and then someone comes in and like is not Goku but claims the name of Goku. It's like, oh, I'm Goku now. It's like you're not Goku.
No,
So
it doesn't work.
yeah,
It doesn't
but,
fucking work.
but Batman Beyond is probably the most successful way of doing like the whole mantle thing.
That should be the blueprint.
Yes.
That should be the blueprint because that is perfectly done. Now you can do like it doesn't matter like what you're okay, you want to have your female Hawkeye, fine. But like you can and I think actually in the show it does feel I think they do a really good job. I did actually really like that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the actress that played uh the girl that is like kind of infatuated, kind of like she is
Yeah,
a
Kate
Hawkeye
Bishop.
fan.
Yeah, Kate
Yeah,
Bishop.
yeah, keep it. I thought she was actually, yeah, Haley Stanfield. I think she's a great actress,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, okay, I wouldn't mind her kind of now being a Marvel character. She's cool,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, there's a lot of this like ham-fisted passing the torch, passing the mantle. It's like no, like it's like Thor: Love and Thunder. Fuck that
Oh,
movie.
that's the anti of how to do it.
Yeah, oh,
Like you say, and I mean, it's like if it's like if a woman became Batman. That's basically what it because because Thor isn't like a secret identity. That's Thor, and you can't just call another person Thor and be that same person. It can't and like but be embodied by a different person.
I'm Lady Thor. It's like no, you're not.
No, come up with a different name. Don't just lazily call her Lady Thor.
Yeah, and it just I hated everything about that movie. Oh, it's so just I was like, I'm so glad I didn't see this in theaters. I would have fucking booed the screen. Like I paid money for this shit.
I know. I just came to boo, boo. But
uh,
rest in peace, Kevin Conroy.
yeah.
You will be
And like
missed.
you will be missed.
All right. Yeah, let's go on to the next uh, item of discussion, and that is the
Sesame
election
Street.
count.
Yeah. Which honestly, like if they were saying that like, oh, we're actually living on Sesame Street and there's a bunch of Muppets like around, that might make more sense as opposed to like what the all the bullshit we keep hearing from the media and everybody on this whole subject.
Right.
I mean, maybe like I'm seeing my own Snuffleupagus, my own imaginary woolly mammoth like walking around.
Yeah. It's so crazy. It's interesting word that I used. Interesting that I used the word crazy. But it's crazy to think that initially he was just a figment of Big Bird's imagination, but because of the stigma of mental health or whatever, that's why they made Snuffleupagus real.
Is that why? Oh my god, is that
Yeah,
why?
yeah, that's why.
But that's the thing. People don't understand. Like the reason why because Big Bird is kind of like he's like a big kid,
Yeah, he's a
and he
5-year-old.
didn't have imaginary friends,
Mm-hmm.
and he was essentially saying it's okay to have imaginary friends, and like because Big Bird doesn't really have a lot of friends, so he made his own. He's saying that like that's okay, and it's like
Right,
oh well if you do that you're crazy. It's like are you no that you're killing off imagination.
right.
Are you fucking kidding? That's why they did that?
I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure. I'm pretty sure that's why they did that.
Oh my god. Well, I know like was it there was that Chappelle bit like where he was making fun of Sesame Street.
Hmm.
I think it was in Killing Them Softly,
Yeah.
where if you say it's like where it's like, oh, they made Snuffleupagus like some like he's addicted to smack. It's
Yeah.
like
It's like, hey, Bird, I got a cold,
give
Bird.
me some smack,
Give me
bird.
some smack, Bird.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Of
was
course, like the count, like, and the count was a pimp.
yeah. Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
count was a pimp. It's like, how many times must I hit you? One, two, two slobs. Oh god, it's
uh,
such a fucking great bit.
yeah.
But see, that would be more sane than some of the bullshit that we hear on the media concerning the election results.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it? Like, just before we started, like, I saw a headline or something talking about, like, oh, election denier Carrie Lake loses, gubernatorial race. Like,
Of course,
oh, okay, you know.
they were. Here's the thing, though. So when she won her primary, right?
Mm-hmm.
She said like she wanted to make. She's like, I don't trust the results. Let's make sure that the votes that like I want people to believe that I'm the one that they voted for. Like that's who the voters asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And they called her election denier then too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like even when she was like she won, she had like it wasn't like sour grapes. She won the primary,
Right,
and
and like, what exactly was like so bad of what about what she said? It's like, I want to make sure that everyone can trust the vote. What is so horrible about that?
nothing.
Exactly.
And to be honest, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican or whatever. You
Yeah.
want to like you want to know that the person that is in office isn't there crookedly. I mean,
Yeah,
what
I
people don't.
mean, well, for whatever, like, I don't even care, but like, even when Hillary is saying that, oh, like, Trump's illegitimate, or whatever, and if she demanded a recount, I'm like, that's fair.
Okay,
That's
fair
completely
enough.
fair.
We this is well, I mean, more recent memory obviously we had the 2000 election where we need to recount all the Florida votes, and it's like, and then Al Gore's like, I only want to like I want to recount on these
Specific districts.
four specific districts. It's like, why don't we do the whole state? No.
Like, just these ones.
It's like, well, people don't realize that because that it's stolen election. Then you have the 2016 election. Hillary, like I think she still thinks she's the president. That it's
Possibly.
it's
Yeah, she's got, yeah, she was Stacey Abrams before Stacey Abrams.
yeah, and it's like, and then there was like I forget who where what election it was, but like there was one person who was like where the margin is at like it's 60 votes difference,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and because like the person wasn't conceding, it's like all the first of all the votes haven't been collected, and there's 60 votes, like there's less than like a 0.1% like difference between the race, so that it automatically goes to a runoff. It's like the margin of victory is like too close,
Right.
so they need to have like kind of just a recount just to make sure,
Right.
because 60 votes,
Kind of like
like
what's
somebody,
happening in Georgia now.
yeah, you can sneeze and come up with 60 votes. I mean, it's like it's at that point like um so yeah, it's like, oh, you're an election denier. It's like it's 60 votes for fuck's sake. Like
Mm-hmm.
if it comes back and it's the
Yeah, if it
same,
was like 3,000 votes, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably, it's secure enough to be like, okay, you won. But like
yeah, but
60.
like yeah, it's like, okay, like I'm not like, okay, if it comes back the same number, then fine. Okay, I lost by 60 votes. It's got
Mm-hmm.
close, but like, no cigar. It's but still, it's like that's not election denial. That's like we're really close. Did
Mm-hmm.
we make sure that we got every vote counted?
Right.
That like the people who are supposed to be voting are voting, and the votes that are not like good are cast aside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I think that's important. But I I don't understand. The thing that I don't understand is I'm not even talking about like recent memory. Like you go back to 2016, you go back to 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000. But hell, you go even back like just in like the 20th century alone, where the technology is not as good. There's not kind of the instantaneous communication. Yet voting was done the day of. Like, I mean, you counted the votes were like tabulated. They were done that day on election day, and you knew who won the races that day. How is it that now it's like we're taking a month to, like I don't even think like some of the like we've called the races like there's only 70% of the votes have been tabulated. Why is that? Like
Right.
we're
I mean,
we're
or even more recent history when we try to recall Governor, Gavin Newsom, and only 30% of precincts were reporting in, and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna call it. It's Newsom,
it's done.
or Newsom stays in office. It's like only 30% of districts are reporting in.
Yeah, it's like, and I think it's not like I mean, stealing elections, that's something Democrats have been doing forever. Um, go back to the 1948 Senate race with LBJ. He stole that election,
Mm,
and it came out like so. He stole that seat, that Senate seat. Became vice president, became president, did all his crazy shit while he was in office, died, and then in 1994 there was they discovered all the evidence. It's like, oh yeah, he did steal that Senate seat. Oh well, but it's too late at that point. The guy is dead.
mm-hmm,
It's and like he's done all his damage.
mm-hmm.
But it's like it was happening back then. It's always been a problem
Right,
in some form or fashion.
right.
But the fact is that we weren't waiting. They weren't waiting like 3 weeks to figure out like, oh, just discover more votes for LBJ.
Mm-hmm,
Um, there's a lot of belief that the 1960 election was stolen for President Kennedy. That
mm-hmm.
a lot of ballot stuffing, all the same kind of shenanigans.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
guess what?
the
It's
dead
all
coming back
tabulated.
to vote Democrat.
Yeah, it was. But guess what? It was all tabulated that day.
Right.
They weren't waiting like 4 weeks afterwards, like to determine if he won the freaking presidency or not. Um, you can argue like, yeah, did he win that race? Who knows? Like but there was definitely a lot of shenanigans that were going on. Um, but at least the votes were counted. The day of the election, and there was no like instantaneous communication. Maybe like telephone, sure, but like they were having to hand count those votes for the most part. So the fact is that this goes back to like the weird incestuous relationship with media and government and like all the social media companies working together, and because of they use the pandemic as a way to change the rules. It
Yeah.
was kind of like, oh, we have an opportunity here to really fuck with the election system. It's like it's gonna because of COVID restrictions, it's gonna take longer for us to tabulate the votes. We can't actually do it on time. It's gonna take several days. And it's like that's why like I mean I don't know, maybe now it's like fully like counted, but like I was counting I kept looking like months after the 2020 election
Mm-hmm.
that like there was still like stuff in January that what they still hadn't counted everything.
Yeah, and I mean, what
They
is
still
it? What was it? Like, I'm pretty sure it was in California, but like, because the drop boxes looked very much like the ones that I've seen around where I live. But yeah,
Mhm.
they're picking up ballots from those drop boxes like a couple days after election day.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is that? It's like, why weren't these picked up? Why weren't these picked up the day of election day and brought to a tabulating place? What the fuck is this?
So and here's the thing: when you're doing a mail-in ballot, because they even tell you on the ballot itself, like you need to have this ballot turned in by this day for it to like for it to arrive on time to be counted.
Mm,
And so like and that's usually about like a week and a half beforehand, just to make it's like they give you a date like and anything received after the postmark of this day is it's illegitimate. But now that's changed. Like now
mm,
they're like, oh well, it does it and for decades people knew this because mail-in ballots have been happening for forever. Like I mean they were a little bit harder to get. They weren't just being sent to people out of
right.
nowhere.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but because of
But
COVID.
like you would have to request them,
Mm,
and they would tell you like, okay, you make sure that your ballot is mailed in by this date. Otherwise, your ballot may not, actually no, I don't think it was may not. It will not be counted because it's after that postmark date
mm,
because they don't have enough time to have it go through the mail stream, get to like the collection office to be counted. Um, and but now that has just completely changed. Like I mean, I know on election day, they were still ballots were still coming in. We had to stay there and postmark them that day because
mm,
they had to go out that day. It's like
right.
they're not gonna get to like how are these gonna be counted? Because like they're coming in on not like the day before election
Election
day.
day.
They're mail-in ballots. They're
Mm,
not gonna be counted. It's too late. But like no, but we were forced to sit there and I mean, and it was a busy day. Like I know, um, guys were there at our office. They were there till probably 2 hours. Like normally we're closed at like 6 o'clock. We were
mm,
there till 8 o'clock because all that shit was still coming in, and we had to like separate all the ballots out. We had to postmark all of them, and just to say that like we weren't like trying to like hide ballots or like throw them away, and like we because we the postal service we get scrutinized so heavily on that stuff when it's like it's should be incumbent upon the people. It's like okay, why are you sending that just through the mail stream alone on election day, like where it's like it's not going to get counted, it's not going to make it in time when you can go to a like whatever wherever the voting location is, you can take your mail-in ballot and you can drop it off there, and it'll be counted that day. That's fine. You can do it that, but if you're gonna send it through the mail stream, that no, that
yeah.
you're too late.
Yeah. That's what I did because again because I didn't get it mailed off in time, so I just went to the polling place and I dropped off my ballot.
That's yeah, and because a lot of people weren't trusting that it was going to be counted correctly or like that their vote would be thrown away. So yeah, they took their they get the mail-in ballot. They filled it out. They dropped it. They went to a voting location on the day of the election and they dropped it off. And that's legitimate. You can do that. I think
Mm,
that's a good way to do it too. Um, but this shit we have got to fix this somehow some way. Making it like we're not making it harder to vote. We're making it easy to vote, hard to cheat.
right, and I think just a lot of like these the COVID stuff should on the face of it just be thrown out. Like they should just be undone. It's like no more drop boxes, no more mass ballots mailed out to everyone on the voter rolls, not just people who asked for it, but like sending it out to
Yeah.
everybody. That we
So
have record of being registered.
like the was it the cemetery had a record turnout for
I
voting.
know, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If you don't believe in resurrection, then obviously you're not a Democrat.
yeah, and the
But
fact that because the voter rolls have probably have maybe in some states like they're fairly up to date, but I guarantee that you can go to any state in the union and it's all fucked up. There's
yeah,
people that because it's not updated, right? It should be updated probably every, I would say like once a month. Like, oh, this person moved, this person died, this person is no longer, he's a convict. He's out.
Right.
He's a
Yeah, there's been I've been hearing stories of people who got, like say like they used to live with their parents, but then they, were able to move out and they moved away to a different state, but then
now,
they'd still get a ballot in their name at their parents' place.
yeah, and then well, was it the um like the guys on Louder with Crowder, like a couple years ago, they were going through and looking. They just went through like certain like key areas. Like I think they were in Detroit. They also did it, I think, in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. Like you're looking at like, and all this stuff is public information. You can access this information.
Mm-hmm.
And they were going to like these like where, oh, this person is supposedly at this address, and they're out in the middle of an open field. Like this is not a real address, and it's like this place does not exist. This address doesn't exist, and yet like that person is getting a ballot somehow and filling it out. It doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, should these like be cleaned up or like be looked at and maybe like updated? And they got like the cold shoulder. It's like click,
Right.
and but that's what the if we're gonna have like that type of agency, like that's their job. If they're not gonna do their job, fire all those people.
Right. Yeah, and all those, people saying, "Oh, well, then you're like disenfranchising, millions of people." It's like, well, it's by their own doing then. If they're not going to take voting seriously and like making sure that their address is correct or whatever, then they don't deserve the vote.
Exactly. And the I've always been like, it's like, no, we need to have record voter turnout. It's like, no, I honestly I want less people to vote because so many. We watched that video this past week when you and James came over
Oh
with
yeah,
those dumbass like young people who like they can't even fucking read a clock for God's sakes. And these people like the thing that scares the hell out of me is like these people can vote.
hmm
They don't even know they can't even name a state. Like they're naming like the boroughs of New York like as states of the union. It's
yeah.
like,
There's one woman, yeah, there's one girl. She was, yeah,
oh shit, Staten Island,
yeah,
Brook.
Brooklyn, the Bronx.
I mean, you name places. That's great. I mean, like places are like
Yeah,
where you live,
you know what a noun is.
but
Maybe
it's just like,
accidentally, but still, you know it.
oh,
Um,
oh, Marge, like of course it's gonna take them a while. Canada all tucked away down there. It's
yeah.
like it's not. It's just the
Yeah, and I'm sure, and I've recounted this and this story that my friend told me of like that girl that she knows
I
about
just
saying
want.
like I just want someone to tell me who to vote for. It's like,
Dude, I even showed you like on like because some of the people I talk with on Twitter, like who I do like as people, they're very nice,
mm-hmm,
but their political takes are they're horrible.
mm-hmm.
And it's like it's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, I just want someone to tell me like like almost like within the same breath. It's like I just want someone to tell me who to vote for, like, and then it's like and then like literally the next breath, it's like I want government out of my life. It's like, well, what is it? Which one do
Yeah,
you want? You
well,
can't
yeah,
have
'cause
both.
that's the contradiction of they're saying like, oh, the government has no right to tell me what I can do, like especially women, like what I can do with my body, but they want government healthcare.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You have to
It's a
make a choice.
contradiction. You have to make a choice. Either government doesn't tell you what to do with your body, or it can tell you exactly what to do with your body.
Yeah, and there was also that one like girl was like, oh, I'm just waiting for Barack Obama to come back. It's like, Jesus.
So he's
Or
ineligible. Like you don't even know that he's ineligible. God damn.
Yeah, those people can vote, Andy. That should scare the hell out of
I
you.
know. Yeah, and I've said it. I even told my friend because she's one of the good ones. But even I told her it's like if you don't own land, then you shouldn't vote. And then I explained it to her very succinctly by saying, if you own land, you're not gonna vote for more property tax.
Yeah,
That's it,
exactly.
you know. And then I like went down the lines like, if you're a non-landowner and then you vote to raise property tax, then the landowner
Affect
it,
you at all.
taxes. Yeah, it won't. Well, it might affect you because if his tax goes up, then your rent goes up to compensate.
True, but still,
I mean,
but you
yeah,
don't
if you own the land and also you own the building, then yeah, then that's
not
gonna
right
hurt
away.
you.
Yeah, but not right away at
But
least.
not right
Not in the
away, at
beginning.
least, yeah, because at first it's yeah. So yeah, and like, but then you're right. But otherwise, you're right. Like, yeah, because if you don't own land and you vote for more property taxes to fund, whatever social program, you don't care because you're not going to be the one who's going to be taxed. And I've said it, time and time again. If you don't put in for the pizza, you have no say in the toppings. It's like, you have to have some sort of skin in the game. Oh, we lost Rob. Stand by. Did we get him back? Did we get him back? Yep. Oh my. Well, yeah, it's a really scary thing that it's a really scary thing when. Okay, you're back, but your screen is not working anymore, and no one can hear you. So give me a second. But yeah, like I said, you don't put in for the pizza, you don't have a say in the toppings. Um, and so yeah, like no, yeah, if you own property, you're not gonna vote to increase your property tax. And so that and I think that's the wisdom of the founders, because everyone wants to think like, oh yeah, voting is our is a right or whatever. It's like, no, it's not. It's a privilege. And it's a privilege of landowners because they have skin in the game. They're the ones who are you know what is it? They're the ones who are putting it on the line.
Plus, there's also the thing is there's a lot of responsibilities that come with being a voter too, because
Yes.
you have like not only like obviously you have to pay attention, but then like yeah, you because you are a landowner, because you are these things, it you're you're looking out for certain things, and you have to be responsible on what's happening. You have responsibilities to your country, you have responsibilities to your family, to your neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
um it does come with a lot of responsibility, and the thing is, okay, if like, oh well, but I'm not a landowner, it's like now you have something to shoot for. And it's like that was the
Exactly.
point.
Incentive.
It was like it was a way like we don't need to like steal someone else's shit. We can create more pies that you can
Right.
that you can that you like you can build yourself up. Like there's so many people in this country who have started with zero, and now like they've become wealthy because of the system that we've created in this country.
Right.
It's not
Yeah. It's
easy,
a
but you can also start at like the penthouse level and go down to the shit into the outhouse. it,
right.
it, it can work that way too.
Yeah. I mean, that's like what's happening to that's why the Latino vote is flipping so like dramatically is because like yeah, did these people come off start off as people that came from Mexico or whatever, yeah, and were they poor, yeah, for a while, and then they worked their asses off, and now like they own businesses, or they're they're like middle management at some company, and their kid,
They bought
and
that
so,
house. They
yeah,
bought
and then they bought
they
that house, and then they bought that car, and they built themselves up, and now like their kids are more American than they are the country that you came from.
it's funny, as much as like obviously George Lopez is a super huge leftist or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
then you go back, like back in the early 2000s, he the George Lopez show,
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what that whole story is about. Like he was super dirt ass poor. His dad left his family. His mom was kind of like this like kind of just tough woman that like treated him like crap. But
Mm-hmm.
then George Lopez, his character is built, worked really hard, worked his way up, bought a nice house, got married, had kids, and built this really nice life for himself. And like, not only is he taking care of his mom, he's taking care of his family, and he has built something. And it's
Yeah,
like that's
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
just even go back 30 years from there, and that's George Jefferson.
moving
Who
on up.
yeah, moving on up. To East Side. He started off working at a dry cleaners, and then he eventually bought the dry cleaners, and then opened up more, and then yeah, he moved on up.
Yeah, it's and well, I mean, and then you go to like Fresh Prince of Bel Air, same kind of deal. Like Uncle Phil didn't start at like third base.
Right.
He worked his ass off to get to that spot.
Mm-hmm.
But
When he ran for office, I think it's just a judgeship. Like, what do you think? What political affiliation do you think Uncle Phil was?
oh, I would
Because I know,
honestly,
because there was that one episode, with like that civil rights, friend that they had, and like, back in the day, they were all about the struggle or whatever.
honestly, I would say he's more maybe independent, closer to like maybe not as like rock ribbed as like Clarence Thomas, but I would say it's like more towards like the Clarence Thomas side. Because I think the thing is like yeah, he might have been like more of like a of a radical in his young age, but as he grew up, he matured and realized like this is not the way.
Right.
Let's let's make changes through utilizing the law
Mm-hmm.
and like and kind of like outworking the things and like to make changes that I think are better for the country. Not just for himself. I think he wanted to make changes for the country to make it better and or to uphold the laws as they are. And I would say he's definitely a lot more as he aged, he got more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, like that that's the way I see it, at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's like his kids go to the like the that prep school. They I think because like he kind of similar to what we talked about earlier with like is it with like the wisdom of Wilson is like was that your friend been your friend for 20 years or was that your friend 20 years ago? That's
Mm-hmm.
to me that woman is like kind of that in that episode is like it's kind of the same thing
Mm-hmm.
where yeah, was that your friend from like your radical friend from like you've been friends with forever, or was that like your friend from the past that you've outgrown
Yeah,
and
during
like
that
better
time.
that is like that is the embodiment of that wisdom in that episode.
Mm.
And I think that Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian outgrew that shit, like, and they realized it's like, no, that's not the way, and we need to find a better way. Should are they looking for like they because I think in the way that the philosophy of Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian, it's like we just want equality, and not only did they achieve equality, well, they already had it technically, but like they when there was like inequality, they fought against it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's fine. Like there's always going to be like maybe like little things here or there. Like I think we can make this a little bit better, more fair for everybody. and I'm sure that's what they did, what they fought for. And not only did they achieve that, but they are overachievers. They've done very well for themselves, and they've created a wealth that their kids will have, and they were able to take in their nephew who was struggling, over in like this shithole city in in Philadelphia, which is still a
Exactly.
shit.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. The more
and
things change,
because
the more they stay the same.
exactly, and Will became a much better person because of that.
Hmm.
Because you see his character change throughout the series
Right.
in a good way.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it just I think that yeah, because I'm all for like yeah we have equality in this country. We do. I mean, it's not are are there places where like there isn't? Okay, yeah, maybe sure. Let's utilize our system to like let's fix that. We see this like maybe it takes some convincing, it takes some work. We have to like work to like try to make things a little bit better and like to uh you know kind of make things nicer and make it better, make it more fair. I'm all for that. But this thing, people are like, oh, they're trying to make equity and equality the same thing. They're not, and it's
Hmm.
like, oh no, if
Although
someone gets
I would argue that they're trying to replace equality with equity.
well, that's what's going on.
Yeah.
And one, they're not the same thing. Equity is not a good thing.
No.
You're not. We don't all have the same outcome. We don't. It's like and like I said, you can start at the penthouse, but you could end up in the outhouse if you're not careful.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
you
And
could
like yeah
and
the
and you can start at the outhouse and go to the penthouse. It happens. It's happened throughout the entire history of this country.
exact. I mean yeah. Just look at the companies that are that are on the Fortune 500. It's not all this. It's not the same companies that were on top 100 years ago.
No,
And
well,
that's
hell,
and that's and that's the that's just the nature of the game.
you could look at a lot of our early presidents too. Like they were in the penthouse a lot. They had a lot of wealth, and after they finished their presidency, they were poor. Like George Washington had to sell off like a ton of his land and everything because he had no money.
Hmm.
Truman like was like, was it the picture of like Uncle Pennybags like with his hands out of his pockets, like he was poor
Hmm.
after he finished his term as 2 terms as president. He and like he had the petition to create the presidential library so that he would have something to. He drove home after he got out of office. He drove back to Ohio or
Hmm.
wherever he was from.
Yeah.
Um, President Grant, like he was poor after his presidency, and like as he was dying from cancer, he was writing his memoirs so that his family would have money. It was just like that because that was and that's I'm not saying that like our president should be like poor when they come out of office. I think they should get paid for the job that they do. They're public service,
Hmm.
but they shouldn't be like Biden, where like you're becoming rich in public office, or like Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi. You're not supposed to get rich in public office.
Right.
You can make a living. You can be. I
Yeah.
think you should have.
And what is it? Yeah. Never like because I don't know if it's like a like, but I don't know if it's a tradition, but like the you can keep your money like because like the president like they get a salary, but a lot of times they'll donate it to charity or whatever. But it's like you can keep it. No, like no, you don't have to give your money away to
I'm not.
charity.
I'm not asking them to.
Yeah, exactly. And we're not asking you to. Like, if you want to, give up your salary to charity, then okay, that's fine. You do that. But no one's telling you that it's a requirement of being president.
But I also don't think that they should be like wealthier than like
Oh no, of
all
course, yeah,
of history. It's
yeah.
like
Like they shouldn't be like an Elon Musk or whatever. When they leave office. But God damn
Like, well, let's see. You've been in public office for 50 years, and calculating all like what you have, and okay, maybe you made some wise investments, but oh, all of a sudden you've made all this money that it doesn't add up. Like you shouldn't have all this money. Like where did you get it from? Oh, you were a crook. Okay, got it. It's
it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because the whole Nancy Pelosi thing, like seriously, how is it not illegal for Congress? You know, because it's like, oh yeah, it's a strict rule. Like we made a pinky swear that they wouldn't talk to their spouses about like new laws that they're gonna pass, or that
oh
they could
bullshit.
work the stock. But there's not even a law barring congressmen or congresspeople from investing or kind of doing insider trading.
Oh, they're doing all, and that's both sides. It's both sides.
Yeah, it's both sides, and I'm not. Yeah, so yeah, let's not pretend that let's not pretend that it's only the Democrats. Yeah, because the Republicans are doing it too.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like that. That's why like some of these establishment types like that have been there for 100,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the same fucking thing.
Exactly.
And the fact that they are the legislator, the lawmakers,
Mm-hmm.
and oh well, I have $1 million invested in such and such company. Well, let's oh, I don't like their competitor. Let's make some laws against their competitor, and we're gonna uplift. We're gonna give the good contracts to this company, and we're gonna make laws against this other company. Like, oh, you can't do this and this and this. Oh, whoops. I guess the company that I'm invested in, like, they're just gonna do. They're the monopoly. They're the ones that are like, and now all of a sudden, my $1 million investment turned into like $200 million. Awesome, great, and that's what. Why do you think that solar and wind energy is being pushed so much? Because they're all invested in this shit,
Exactly.
and that it's not about finding some like better energy or like different types of energy other than petroleum. It's because if that was the case, we would be using nuclear, we'd be using like hydrogen power, we would be using solar, wind, petroleum. We would be using all of it. We would be natural gas. We'd be using everything. But no, it's because they've invested all this money into solar and wind because they've been like hoodwinked into saying, "Oh, this is the best thing," and they've invested hundreds of millions of dollars, and so now they're trying to create laws to make it where petroleum is bad and nuclear power is the devil. It's from the Water Boy, like the mom from Water Boy. It's like
Yeah.
nuclear power is the devil.
Ben Franklin's the devil. But I mean, just to put it into historical perspective, Jimmy Carter put solar panels on the White House when he was president. When Reagan came in, he took that shit off. And it's not
Good.
because that Ronald Reagan's a dick and he hates the environment and he wants to pollute, pristine lakes up in Washington State. No, because he probably looked at the numbers and found out that the solar powers were doing dick all of
They're doing nothing, especially in 19 like in the 70s and 80s.
exactly, they were doing dick all in providing more power or whatever, or the offset was so minimal that it made no sense to keep the solar panels.
And by the way, the decaying solar panels in the landfills, those are destroying the environment. By the
Yeah,
way,
because they're made of rare earth minerals that can't be recycled, kind of like lithium.
imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah, like for
I
all
mean,
you people who think your shit don't stink because you drive a Prius or you drive a Tesla or whatever, it's like once that car is dead or once that car gets to an accident, that the that battery is gonna be leaching into the ground, right? And
yeah, and
it's gonna poison the groundwater. It's gonna poison the it's gonna leach into the neighboring farm or whatever, and you'll be to blame.
now if we can find ways, like because I think I believe through like technology and like just innovation, if we can find a way to like recycle lithium in a way, okay, great, that's fine. Then or some way to like where it's not destroyed. That stuff is destroying the environment. If we can find a way to like make that
Right, and not
recyclable,
even just that, but like the mining for it. Have you ever seen a lithium? Like, look, go
if
into Google, go into Google Images and look up lithium mine, and see the kind of
there's
the
nothing there,
damage that's doing to the land.
yeah. Um, if there's a way like where it can be better, where we can like recycle that stuff, great. I'm then okay, fine. Yeah, then we'll do that. Um, I actually remember there was I forget like what show I was watching, but it was essentially like there was it was like a murder mystery show. I forget the title of the show. But essentially this person was killed because it turned out that uh, they were doing business espionage against this company who like they made a lot of money because they claimed that they could recycle batteries and lithium, and it turned out it was all bullshit. And they had the evidence that it was all bullshit, and because it was ruining this other company, and that person was killed over it. And that was kind of like that's what was discovered through this investigation. It's like, oh damn, and it's like, yeah. And when I was thinking, it's like, yeah, it can't be recycled. We don't have a way to recycle these things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think that that was the point, like what they were trying to point out in the story, but it's true. We can't recycle that stuff right now. Maybe in the future we could,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not happening now. Uh, and we're definitely not investing in technology to do such a thing either.
No, yeah.
I also wonder too, especially with like all like the old cell phones and shit too.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder like that's also creating a lot of just
Yeah,
waste in
e-waste.
landfill
Yeah, e-waste
because
is the new plastic ring. The six pack ring. The six pack ring.
yeah. It's like yeah, I cut. I mean, I cut it like when I have those. Like yeah, I cut those up like just because. Like okay, yeah, okay, makes sense. I don't want some fish caught in it.
Whatever. I
Um,
don't care. I throw it out like screw nature.
like, but
I don't know.
or
At a certain point, like kind of like that one video with that turtle with the straw up its nose. I'm wondering if those pictures weren't also exaggerated with like
oh,
the fish caught in like the
I
six
just want
pack
to
ring.
create Lisa. I just want to create Lisa Slurry. Where was wipe the oceans clean.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I wonder. Like I'm really like starting to rethink like this whole thing because it's like again, it's like they keep telling us there's like this, continent size floating uh, garbage island, in the middle of the Pacific, but they never show us satellite images. Same thing with like this one sea turtle, this one sea turtle with a straw up his nose. You didn't show me like video after video after video after video of sea turtles with straws up their nose. Just
Yeah,
like yeah, you show me one picture with like a bird, like like whose neck is like caught in it. Who's like if your neck gets caught in it, then you deserve to die. I'm just gonna say it right now.
yeah. It's like oh, it's food.
There you go. Yeah, if you're an animal and you're dumb enough to get your neck caught in that, then you deserve it.
Hey, I like a little dolphin in my tuna.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it
I'm
reminded
such
me of that Futurama episode where it's like Bender is like serving up dinner, and then like oh like he's like it's like oh it's like it's some nice roasted dolphins like oh, how can you do that? Dolphins are intelligent creatures. Like not this one. It got like an extended warranty on his TV. It's like oh what an idiot.
oh
It's like oh
yeah.
pass the blowhole.
God, oh man, Bender's my spirit animal.
Pretty much. Oh. I mean, I don't
But
know if you have anything else to
no,
like,
I don't. I don't. It's I knew it
yeah, we
was.
kind of
I
devolved into, talking about, emotion, like environmental griping and whatever. But
that's how it works. Like it's
yeah,
all this shit is connected in a lot of ways.
it is.
It's
It is in a lot of ways. Because
corrupt.
yeah, like,
Corrupt.
because yeah,
Kind
because
of
like
like
yeah, because I mean, just uh, just the passage of Prop One in here in California, it was passed overwhelmingly. How the fuck does that happen? That means people that would agree with us but are so fucking stupid they voted yes for that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way. I mean, because like if it was like more like 50-50, then I'd understand. It's like, okay, yes, there's okay, at least there's like still like some sane people left. But it was like 60, like somewhere around like 60-40.
Yeah,
That
it
means
was
that means that there's some people on our side who are a bunch of fucking morons.
who weren't paying attention.
Yeah, who aren't paying attention. But just before like we end all this, I mean it's probably not breaking news, but yeah, Trump just announced that he is going to run in 2024.
Yeah, I had heard that a little bit earlier
Yeah.
today. It's like I assumed he was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, nothing's changed for me as far as like in the primary. Not gonna vote for him. Too old.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and his finger is definitely not on the pulse anymore. But if it's him and him against Biden in the general, well, I mean, I ain't
Yeah,
voting for
just
Biden.
have to, just have, yeah, I'll have, in this case, yeah, I'll have to just hold my nose and vote for Trump. Or not, I don't know, it's like, yeah, I mean, if Trump, like, during the race, he does a hard 180 and starts going, you know what, I'm really proud of the job we did with, like, Project Warp Speed or whatever, but, all the craziness that went along with it, I can no longer, like, endorse, or I can no longer, associate with. If he said those magic words, I'd be like, okay, maybe, like, I would reconsider.
Hopefully, it's not like a Fetterman and Oz type of deal, where it's like, fuck, we have a guy who can't talk, and like can't like comprehend stuff, and then a guy who is just not with it anymore. Like as far as I mean, he's with it, but he's not like with it
Yeah,
like
he's not
on
plugged in.
sociological
Yeah,
level.
right. Yeah, because I mean, yeah, Doctor Oz pushed the vaccines too, and so. But I mean, I think he was smart enough not to make that an issue. But yeah, yeah, Trump is like it really perplexes me for someone who's so who's so good, like in terms of strategy. Like, but he still can't. He's still like harping on like, oh, I'm the father of vaccines. I'm the one who pushed the FDA to push past all like normal safety like procedures and got it out
I would
sooner.
stop talking about that like immediately.
Hmm?
He should have stopped talking about that like a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. Let alone not bring on the freaking descendants or whatever from like the Johnson and Johnson family on stage.
Stop it. Stop
Stop
it.
that shit right now. Stop that shit. Bad Trump. Bad Trump.
Stop it. Get some help.
All right, stop it. Exactly. But all right, yeah, that's it for me on that particular subject.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
That's all. Yeah. All right, folks. Yeah, let's get into our movie review, and we'll wrap up our night.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Let me hit y'all with the synopsis, and we'll get going. Again, tonight's movie review is The Hustler from 1961, starring Paul Newman, George C. Scott, Piper Laurie, Jackie Gleason. Um, a pool shark's travels from one seedy playing room to another. Wait. A pool shark's travels from one seedy playing room to another lead him to a potentially life-changing showdown with legendary Minnesota Fats. Set in the shady world of smoke-filled pool halls, this is a portrait of a damaged character who fears winning as much as losing.
That's kind of an interesting synopsis. Like I how they put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I thought
Uh,
so.
uh, when did you first come to The Hustler, Andy?
I've always known about the Hustler, um, but I never. I can honestly say that I didn't really watch it until uh, was it last year or um, yeah, not quite sure when I watched it. It might have been like this year or last year, uh, but
Yeah, I forget who turned me on to it as well because the
and again, like this is one of the rare instances that my cousin didn't like traumatize me or or neglect me, but yeah, like I don't think yeah, because I don't think their their tastes were that refined yet. So
but yeah, I think I watched this sometime last year. I actually own the film now.
mhm,
Um, I ended up buying the film, so I've watched it a few times this past week, along with the Martin Scorsese sequel, Color of Money, just to kind of it's like so I can get kind of in the head of Eddie Felson, our main character,
mhm,
played by Paul Newman,
right,
and there's definitely like this is to me this is like when because we have done a Paul Newman film before. We did The Sting,
mhm,
and that is like the quintessential heist film, right? The
oh
Sting.
yeah, yeah, it was
This
Ocean's
to me is
11 before Ocean's 11.
yeah, this to me is the quintessential pool shark movie.
Mhm,
And the movie we're going to be talking about in a couple weeks is uh, Pool Hall Junkies, and there's definitely like there's like a few lines and like a few like elements of the hustler that are in Pool Hall Junkies. Of course there are.
yeah,
If you're doing a pool movie, you're thinking of the hustler. This is like all pool films come off of this. Like this is like kind of like the top of the tree of the family tree of
this is
film.
the Adam and Eve of pool movies.
Yeah, exactly. So right away we get our introduction to Eddie Felson and his partner. Um, who is it? Charlie? Was
Let
that
me
his partner's name?
I let me confirm.
Yeah, it was Charlie. Charlie Burns,
Mm,
and they are. We see the hustle that they've been putting on from town to town. Most likely, they travel to all these different pool hall, bars, pool halls, whatever, and they hustle people out of money.
right.
And obviously, like Eddie Felson is like, oh, I'm sure Charlie can play, pretty well himself.
Mm-hmm.
But like the real talent is Eddie Felson.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they say it's like, oh, it's kind of like Charlie is kind of like his it's like his father figure type or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I honestly thought like they were more like an older brother, younger brother type of relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of see the game that these guys have been playing for years.
Mm-hmm.
Going from town to town, bar to bar, pool hall to pool hall. Just kind of making money and having fun and raising hell.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you roll around in that world and you want to test your skills. Eddie Felson wants to play. You hear about this guy, this legendary guy, Minnesota Fats, who's like he's like the top pool hall, pool player hustler. I want to beat this guy. This is the guy I got to beat so that I can be the man, kind of like what we talked about with in the Cincinnati Kid, the kid trying to beat Lancey Howard. It's like he's been playing poker his whole life, playing in these like little like shithole like poker tables, so that he can get a chance at Lancey Howard. That's the same deal here. Honestly, Lancey Howard and Minnesota Fats have a lot of similarities as characters. And so we start our film, like, pretty much right away. We go to Ames Pool Hall, and it's like, where it is just a pool hall. There's nothing else there. Like, and I love how all the signs are like, oh, no gambling allowed,
Yeah.
no mass shots, or whatever. Like, and I actually had to look that up because, like, what the hell is a mass shot? And where it's like where you're curving the cue ball, so like it's like it goes around a bill a billiard to knock into another one,
Right.
like where it's like you're it's almost like a curve.
Basically throwing a curve. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But they do all of that shit right in that pool.
Yeah.
So it's like they break all the rules, which is like,
Because
okay,
the first rule of pool, kid, is there are no rules.
exactly. So they break all the rules in this
Hmm.
pool hall, Ames pool hall, and they walk in. And it's like it's quiet as a church in here, and like Charlie's like, it looks like a fucking morgue. It's like your body's gonna be
Yeah,
like the
the
bodies
pool
are gonna
tables are
pile
the
up.
slabs where they place the bodies.
Exactly. It's like, um, and he's kind of like, obviously he has his satchel, which I wonder if in if that's the same satchel, although obviously it's black and white, but like I wonder if that's the same satchel that what we see in Color of Money, that he carries his, like, his pool cue in,
Mm.
the balabushka or whatever the fuck it's called.
Hmm.
Uh Jeffrey, break out Lucille. It's one of that's also like that episode of Fresh Prince, though, is also fucking amazing. That's probably I think that's one of my favorite Uncle Phil moments, is that pool hall episode.
Yeah.
But I digress. It's
Hmm.
but so he obviously, like, wants a game with Minnesota Fats. Sets it up. It's like, oh, what do you play? It's like, I play straight pool. Yeah, I play a little bit. They're kind of feeling
Yeah.
each other out, like,
Hmm.
and they start playing, and they keep playing and playing. And what do you think about Minnesota Fats as a character? What did you think of him?
Hmm. If anything, I thought, I think, I think it was underdeveloped, but that's okay because, he's there to be the obstacle to the main character, Eddie
Yeah, I
Falcon.
see him as an enigmatic figure.
Yeah, yeah. And so so it doesn't really matter like about his backstory or how he got started or like you know or I don't even really care. Although I'm curious as to how he and George C. Scott's character Gordon like got hooked up
Yeah,
initially,
yeah, exactly.
and like because it seems like that's more of a partnership as opposed to the relationship that he cultivates with Eddie. Um, but yeah, I don't care that Minnesota pardon the pun here, but I don't care that Minnesota Flats is a little thin as a character. Um,
But what did you do? What are your thoughts on him, though? Like, do you like him as a character? Do you think, like,
I do like him as a character. I think he's like again, like you said, he's like the ultimate like pool hustler, and I think like he's someone who's who's very practiced and he knows his craft very well. Not just the pool, the playing of pool, but also in the art of hustling.
yeah?
Because like when Eddie was like cleaning his clock and he put himself together again and it's like and kind of putting on the airs like oh yeah that was fun but even though I can go again I think I will be done for the night.
Well, no, but that's the thing, is like, so Minnesota Fat sort, like, kicks his ass essentially, like, it's they're feeling each other out, but he is winning. And then Eddie Felson's like, I got this guy, like, because Charlie is like, dude, quit, like, this
Yeah,
guy's too good, you can't beat him.
because his goal was to get like 10,000 and they already had 11,000
No,
at the
no, no,
time.
No, but before that, before he started coming back, it was like he was getting because Eddie was losing all the money, like,
Right.
but he was studying him, and he's like, oh no, and Charlie was like, we're running out of money, quit. He's too good. We can't beat him. He's like, mm-mm. I found that I know I can beat this guy, and then he's like, you know what, fat man, I think it's here from me on out, and like he starts like kind of he starts taking over, and he starts winning game after game. It's like Charlie, how much are we up? We're up $1,000. Hey, why don't we start playing 1,000 a game? And that's how it begins. And he's up 11,000. Then he's up 18,000. It's like it's over. Like we've been playing 25 hours. They play for like I think almost like a day and a half, almost like a pool, which is insane to think of. They're drinking their ass off. They're smoking and drinking and playing pool for like a day and a half, which is fucking insane. Um,
Right. But I mean,
and
yeah. But my point, yeah. At the end of it, though, like and like when he did when the turn comes, and Minnesota Fats like lays on his craft. That's why that's why I'm saying that he's a master at his craft, not just at pool but at hustling, because
he
that's
was
when he
always
because
looked pristine, and like he just like kind of like just splashed some water on his face, put some powder on his hands, put his coat back on. It's like and like Eddie Felson is who's just drunk off his ass and
yeah,
tired,
like
and it's like
disheveled, like
worn
he's
out,
not wearing his jacket anymore.
everything's wrinkled,
Hmm.
and it's like and it's because he was like the goal for Eddie was not about the money. It was he wanted to like destroy Minnesota Fats and humiliate him.
Yeah.
And
What was the term that they used in the Cincinnati Kid? He wanted to gut him.
that's exactly what Eddie Felson was trying to do with
Minnesota
Minnesota
Fats. Yeah.
Fats. And and it's just like that scene where it's like he just like cleans himself up, and it's like, all right, Fast Eddie, let's play some pool. And it's like he's just like, oh fuck, it's like this guy looks perfect, like everything is like his suit is looks
Yeah. It's
spectacular.
immaculate. He's put
He's got his fucking
together.
carnation that he has on his suit. Like his hair is perfect. It's like, god damn, this guy like has not worn down. I haven't worn
Yeah.
this
He's
guy
a
out at
machine.
all
He's a machine.
because he's been drinking just as much as Eddie Felson has.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just like he got worn out, and that's kind of like where like, and then all the money that Eddie won, he lost, and he was down to like $200. It's like, come on, I have $200. Let's play. It's like, nope, we're done. Game's over. And it's like, oh, fuck, where does the movie go from here? Because like he was supposed to beat this guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't. So where do we go from here? Um, and that's really like Eddie goes on this whole journey in this film. What what do you think? Like, do you think that I'm trying to think about like the character of Sarah that he meets later after this whole incident.
Mm-hmm.
Because he is living on kind of similar to how like Rounders, like where Matt Damon's character is constantly like living that like he lost that game against Teddy KGB, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been like living that for 9 months. Like he's just thinking about that game that he lost. Like, fuck, how did I mess that up? And he's reliving that over and over again. Because we kind of get that same idea after Eddie Felson wakes up in the motel room and he's thinking about that game.
Yeah.
And
He even admits as much. I think to Gordon, George C. Scott's character, where
yeah,
yeah,
Burt
I
Gordon,
played that game 1,000 times in my mind.
exactly. So he gives up that like part of that $200 over. He gives half of that money and the car keys over to Charlie, and he walks to the bus station and this is the part of the film where I'm like, what is going through his mind? Like, what is he thinking about as he going to the bus station? Was he thinking about like just like going back to Oakland? Was he just like wanting to like kind of go on this like journey of some sort? Like, and was it just like a happenstance that he ran into this woman, Sarah, that kind of kept him in town? That's the thing. That's the one part of the movie I'm like, what's going on there? What do you think, Andy?
I think I think what he said, what Sarah was saying, how he, that he lives out of a locker at a bus station is, yeah. I mean, I think that was accurate, and I think more straightforwardly, that's who he is. Like, because he's not someone who could afford. It's not. He doesn't live the lifestyle to be able to afford to pay rent an apartment, or even buy a house. So he has to live out of a locker at the bus station. So I mean, what does it cost to store his stuff for a night or two? Like just a quarter, and then he tries to, and he just finds uh, lodging wherever he can. Like, the first place he went to was that, kind of like seedy or like rundown kind of motel, and it was like, what is it? Like $1.25 a day or $7 for the week or something.
That before he goes to that seedy motel,
Mm-hmm.
so he meets there at the bus station like cafe or whatever,
Yeah,
and
diner.
then he falls asleep because he's still like he's still coming off that marathon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that when he went to the motel, I don't think he actually slept. I think the first time he actually slept after that whole incident was
Yeah,
at the bus
bus
station.
station.
He fell
Mm-hmm.
asleep there,
Yeah,
and then he
I would
wakes
agree.
up. He just like, well, fuck it, I'll get some JTS Brown at the bar, which I have never heard of that bourbon. I don't know if that's a real bourbon or not,
Mm-hmm.
or if it still exists.
Right.
I'd be kind of curious to check it out if it's real. Um, but he goes to the bar, orders some JTS Brown, which is his signature. Like that's his drink, right?
It
And
is real, and it still exists.
it's real and still exists.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious. I want to check out this bourbon. It sounds just because, and to be honest, I wonder if Paul Newman was actually drinking that during filming because he is a raging alcoholic.
Yeah, but yeah, it looks like it's a real brand of bourbon whiskey.
Interesting, and it still exists today.
Yeah, unless Google is lying to me.
Yeah. But then he goes to the bar, and by the way, that bartender, you know who that is?
Hmm. Oh,
Do you know who the do you recognize the bartender
in the first
in the
bar?
movie in the first bar that they go to?
Oh, I don't. I don't. No
That
way!
it's Jake LaMotta.
Holy crap! So it is.
Yeah,
Although he did look familiar.
yeah. So if for all you Raging Bull fans out there, that is Jake LaMotta. That is
The
because
actual Jake LaMotta.
the actual Jake LaMotta. This is right after he retired from boxing. Um, so yeah, he was in this film. He was the bartender.
Well, what do you know?
Yep. Uh-huh. That not a whole lot of lines, not a significant character, but that's Jake LaMotta.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, like JTS Brown, like check.
Yeah.
Oh, like, yeah, he's whatever she was drinking, check,
You like me, Mac? Check.
check.
But yeah, he meets Sarah up at the bar, and then they go off on like they start talking, and there is like I think the reason why they connect is because especially after the thing with Minnesota Fats,
Mm-hmm.
he's a I think he was already a broken person, but he's even more broken now. and she's a broken person.
Right.
Obviously, like she has the limp because of her polio or her she had polio at one time, and
Mhm.
so she has a limp. She's also an alcoholic.
Mhm.
She's I don't even know if she says she goes to school. I don't know if she goes to school at all.
Yeah.
I think it's all I think that's
I
all
mean, yeah, we don't
bullshit.
ever see her go, but I mean, it's like she's not like that big of a character to where like it merits the couple of scenes to show her going to school or whatever. Although
Yeah,
she is like, although she is like constantly writing or like doing like you know doing what I guess could be interpreted as writing assignments.
no, to be honestly, I think it's all BS. I think she made it all up. I think she's just as
That's
much of a
fair.
bullshit artist as Eddie Felson is.
Mhm.
And the only reason that and the reason she has the place that she lives at to begin
Mhm.
with is because her dad um she had a bad childhood and her dad is kind of essentially paying her off. You know,
Mhm.
that's the real story. And she has nothing until Eddie Felson, who is also broken, comes into her life. And um I think she's a very sad and lonely person.
Mhm.
The but she initially is why do you think that she rejects him initially? Like, you're too hungry. What do you think that means?
Hmm. I think maybe too ambitious because he still has something to prove, and so maybe she doesn't want him to try and bed her because he's still feeling frustrated about not being able to beat Minnesota Fats.
Oh, you know what? That makes sense. Because I was wondering, okay, is he just because I wondered too, is does he act, do they, I think she is interested in him and she likes him, and I think in a way, loves him.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a good portion of the film is does Eddie actually feel that way? Does he actually really care about her, or is it just more of convenience?
Mm-hmm.
I think by the end of the film, we figure out that he does actually care about her and love her.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of the film where they're together of do they does he actually really care about her, or is it just kind of a hustle in a
Right.
sense?
Yeah, or a coupling of convenience.
Yeah, because I that was the thing that I was thinking about in the film. It's she clearly has fallen for him,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't seem mutual.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Especially when he gets his thumbs broken.
They broke my thumbs,
No.
Charlie. It's no. um, that's the Pope of Greenwich Village. That's a different movie.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's I kind of wonder. I think he does. I think before it is more of convenience because he has nowhere to go. He has no ambition anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's not sure if he can even really play pool anymore if he has the talent.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of he reached for the stars and missed, and it's I guess I'm just never gonna reach reach that summit. And it's well, I'll be with this person. You know, she has a fairly nice place. She likes me. We have fun. We drink. That's our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, but his real relationship is with pool. He can't get out of his system. He has to play.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that everyone remembered his game with Minnesota Fats. They know he's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
He's better than everyone in that town. That he's a hustler,
Mm-hmm.
and he so no one's dude, I was there. You can't. No, we're not gonna play against you. You I'm gonna lose my money.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he could have hey, do you want? I'll teach you. Do you want to be a better player? I can do that. It's he probably would have made money by doing that, not
Mm-hmm.
by trying to
Yeah,
hey, you
not
guys
try
want
to
to play
hustle them. Yeah.
pool? Yeah, that that's where like I see like in the sequel, that's where why he gravitated toward Tom Cruise's character, because he saw himself. He's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, that was me back, back in the days against Minnesota Bats. Like,
Mm-hmm.
in that time, like after the Ames pool hall, like I was begging people just to play me, and they didn't want to play. Oh, I'll give you 6 balls, off the, off the table. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, hey, we don't have to play for money. We'll just play for free. It's like, nah, I'm good. It's like I'm gonna lose.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but yeah, he does grow to love her. I think by the end.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, why the other relationship that kind of confused me too about the with the film is like Bert Gordon and Eddie. Like, why did he come back to Eddie? Like, why do you think, like, because he called him a loser at the beginning of the movie? Like, he's like, oh, stay with this kid, he's a loser. But why did he stick, like, kind of like, oh well, I'll I'll work with you, kid. You're one of the best pool players I've seen. Like, what do you think that's all about?
I think because I think his business is like gambling, so I think he recognizes, I think he recognizes skill, but he knows that Eddie is still kind of green,
Raw.
raw green, and so like he figures that he'll make money off him either way, like whether like if he's betting, for him or against him, because he could still like bet against him.
Yeah, but like, but he chooses to stake him, because the first time, like, he is like, hey, there's a game over in Louisville in Kentucky
Mm-hmm.
that I want to take you to. Like, we'll get some good action there. They end up playing billiards, which I have no idea how that game is played at all. I didn't understand the rules to that at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and obviously, like, Eddie, like, is kind of like losing. That's like, I was like, I don't understand the rules of that game at all. Straight pool makes more sense. I get that game. I don't understand the rules of billiards.
Right. Well, I think it's you have to hit. I, I'm not 100% sure, but you have to hit two sides of like off the bumpers and then hit one of the billiards.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like and
Uh,
you must like bank it off like two sides before hitting one like the billiard.
oh, so it's just fucking geometry
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah, geometry.
That's boring. I don't want to. I don't want to play geometry. I want to play pool. But I mean, like, pool also has geometry in it too. I
Right,
understand
but
that,
like
but
with the pocket, there's a goal.
exactly,
You know,
get the
it's
balls
like
in
it's
the
like
pocket
basketball or like soccer or
by
hockey. It's
any
like
means necessary.
yeah, so it's like yeah, but I don't know. I guess there's just as much skill, you know, bumping the billiard off, you know, two walls before striking the your particular billiard. I think that's also part of it too. Like everyone, like each person has, you have to like hit the billiard, like the assigned billiard or something to
Yeah.
that
Oh,
effect.
that too. Yeah. Did that guy remind you of Rip Torn's character in the Cincinnati Kid a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Hmm.
there's so many of these similarities. Like, fuck, these movies are connected in some form or fashion. Although The Hustler came out first,
Yeah.
so maybe the Cincinnati Kid might be
Rip
connected
Torn's
to
character was probably influenced by this character,
yeah.
and they both happen to be Southern.
Yep.
Like one was from just Louisiana.
Yeah. Um. So there's that whole, because this is uh because this is after the whole, like, after his, like, thumbs got broke,
Hmm.
which is also we see play. We're gonna see in our next movie, Pool Hall Junkies. Like, this is kind of the similar thing here.
Hmm.
Um, because we had the whole journey with like him and Sarah, their relationship is going, but like Poole is really his relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes to like that seedy pool hall, has his thumbs broken, after he like beats the shit out of those other pool sharks. I mean, he like wallops them
Yeah.
because he was pissed off.
Right.
Um, and then he spends time with Sarah without playing pool. I think he does really um, fall for her. And then yeah, he takes Burt Gordon up on his offer, and that's where we go to Louisville. We play this Southern dandy with his stupid billiards table, and he's losing. Eddie's losing, and it's like we're done. It's over. And Sarah is getting drunk off her ass, and like I think she is feeling like she is because Bert doesn't like her. And Bert is, I think, been like we don't hear what he's saying to her, but like he is saying some probably really nasty things to her.
Mm-hmm.
Um and it's causing her to fuel her insecurities and her alcoholism because
Mm-hmm.
she's just as much of a drinker as Eddie is,
Right.
but maybe worse. And so she gets really drunk that day, and he's like, I can beat this guy. And like he had won some money earlier that he gave her. It's like, oh, take this for this is for you, this is for luck. And then he steals that back from her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, fuck you, I'll play with my own money. I'm gonna win this game. And
Yeah.
he's
But she knows about it. She knows what's
yeah.
up.
But after the whole incident, like where she has her drunken meltdown, and he's arguing with her, I don't understand like what because all of a sudden Bert's like he's back on. It's like, okay, Eddie, take this guy on. We're gonna play him again. We're gonna take this guy's money. Why do you think he did that? What was it about that scenario that raised Bert's his uh his interest in Eddie, that thinking he could win?
Uh, I think maybe it could have been just like his willingness to stake his own money.
Do you think that was, or was it like the level of like maybe now that Sarah was no longer a distraction and he was like upset? Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Mm, not necessarily, because I mean, like, I don't know, like, how much of a factor, like, because yeah, he's starting to like, catch the feels, as the kids would say, for Sarah, but I don't think like he's fully aware of it. So like, yeah, he's like a little more tender to her, but I don't think like it's fully solidified yet. And so yeah, so I don't think like his care or his distraction from Sarah is really a factor in this matter.
Okay. Yeah, I still don't know how I feel about or what I think about that scene, but I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. Um, and then this is where the movie really takes a huge dark turn
Mm-hmm.
because Eddie decides like he wins big. He uh he walked home, and they put Sarah in the cab, and Bert and her go back to the hotel. And I think there's a lot of Eddie's going through like kind of he wants to walk because he wants to think about everything that transpired that night, like where he wants to go, what his talent level is. Because I think like there's a lot of people in his head. Sarah's in his head.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie's words are in his head. Bert's words are in his head. He's still thinking about the game with Minnesota Fats. Like it's all in his head, and he needs to work that out. And by walking back to the hotel, he's gonna work. He's working through a lot of stuff. This is where the movie really gets fucked up, because Bert has been talking so much crap to Sarah. What what do you think about that hotel scene? Because it's really disgusting, like what happens between those two.
Mm-hmm.
um, where he I don't think that like I wouldn't say like it's not a rape scene. That's not what happened.
No.
It that it because it is consensual,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like what is what's going what do you think that Sarah is going through? And what is Bert trying to accomplish? I mean, other than just like getting laid, because I think there's something more nefarious that Bert is trying to do.
Uh, yeah, it's hard to say because you know, because she does make that comment about like, oh, leave the money on the counter or whatever dresser, because that's how isn't that how it's supposed to go? Like kind of like, with prostitutes.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, because we never hear what because he there's several times that they're like alone together, and he whispers in her ear.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what he says, but it's like clearly it's something that it upsets her
Mm-hmm.
severely, and
Yeah,
it
enough
makes
to
me
throw a
like,
drink. Yeah, in the space.
yeah, it's like what was said, and it's like, oh, isn't it like was he calling her like just like some whore? Was he calling her like some just like
I mean, I
something
would,
else?
I would, I would think that he was like trying to proposition her.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, because it makes sense in the context of she makes the comment about like, oh, leaving the money on the nightstand or whatever. That's how it's done. And so he might have been like, you know he could have made like a proposition. It's like, oh, like, I give you 500 for your snatch or whatever. And so like, this is
Oh
just
shit!
you know,
I didn't. That was not where I was going. I thought he was trying to create a rift between those two because he wanted Eddie for himself. But that makes sense too.
yeah. But I think with Bert, it's like I don't think it isn't about that. I don't think Bert has like any type of like loyalty or connection. Because I mean, I think because I don't because maybe then him and Fats aren't really like partners. It's just someone like it's just someone he knows is like is consistent, and like he could
Oh,
definitely make
they're
money off of.
they're not they're not like partners or friends in any way because that ending scene where it's like just pay the man, just give him his money. Like there's like this look in Minnesota Fat's eyes where it's like he's like, don't fuck with this guy.
Right, and I think yeah, like yeah, so it like yeah, so they're the I mean, initially in the beginning of the movie, it might have seemed as though Bert and Minnesota Fats are partners, but it just could just be more of a working relationship where it's like just like Bert just bets on Minnesota Fats because he's consistent and he knows that he'll win.
He'll
But
always make money off of
yeah,
him.
and I think with Eddie, it's like again, like there's no real loyalty. He's just a to him to Bert, Eddie is just a commodity, and so like he'll put on airs about like, oh, like when you work for me, like I cover all the bills or whatever, but it's like he has no loyalty to Eddie.
No, he's an asshole.
Yeah, he's an asshole. Like
Oh
just like
God, and I love George C. Scott, but man, I think this is his most villainous role.
mm,
He is such a dick in this movie.
mm-hmm,
Um, yeah, because so him, Bert and Sarah end up sleeping together. I mean, at least that's the what we're led to
implication.
believe. Um, and I think because she on the bathroom mirror in Bert's room, she writes all the things that she feels about herself. She calls herself a whore,
Mm,
tramp, whatever,
pervert.
like lipstick on the mirror,
Mm-hmm.
and then she slits her wrists.
Yeah.
Um, because by the time that Eddie gets back to the hotel, it's like, why are like he's trying to go back up to his room? It's like, and everyone's looking at him in like this weird way. It's like, I'm just trying to go to give me my damn key. And it's like, and all the police are up there, and he's like, oh shit, and it's like, don't go in there. And he finds Sarah, and it's like he I think that Eddie feels responsible because one, he cares about it. I think this is the moment where we realize that he does actually care about Sarah and like want that he does have love for her.
Mm-hmm.
And also he feels responsible that shit, I should have just gone in the cab with her. We should have just gone back to the hotel, lived our life, and like just kind of been over with all this. And when he finds out that it's like he realizes that Bert caused this, he is, I mean, she killed herself. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But like Bert was the catalyst for this happening. Like she was already kind of teetering a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean, I think her and Eddie being together, I think it was she was starting to get like a little bit more balanced out. But because and then you throw Bert into the equation, and it just ended up tipping her over the edge to like kind of like with her mental health and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
she ends up killing herself. And Eddie, I think, and rightfully so. First of all, you slept with my woman. Fuck you. And because of that, she tipped over the edge and she killed herself. And he feels like he feels a lot of the guilt, and like he takes it out on Bert, and rightfully so. I would have punched that dude in the face. Fuck you. Um, and so he decides to. This is where he runs up the courage. Like, I have to go back to Ames. I have to go kick this. I have to go kick Minnesota Fat's ass. Bert's guy. To prove a point. And this is where like he doesn't he's not fucking around. He's not hustling. He's not drinking a bunch of JTS Brown. He's not doing any of that stuff. He's not, and in fact, he's not playing Minnesota Fats. He's going after Bert. That's his goal at that in the ending scene. He wants to destroy Bert.
Mm-hmm.
And they play another kind of marathon game, and it comes to the point where Minnesota's like, I can't beat you, Eddie. You win. And like it's like he and um it even got to the point because like he because as he's playing the game, he is talking at Bert. You can't, don't don't and like Minnesota's like, just shoot pool, Eddie. It's like when it's your turn, you do whatever the hell you want. I will say whatever. Yeah, it's like, fuck all of you people. Like, I'm done with you.
Mm-hmm.
And um Bert like tries to like he wins all his money back. Bert tries to like take his cut, and it's like, I think we're even. And that's where like we get the scene like where Minnesota's like, just pay the man, just and you get that kind of scared look in Minnesota's eyes where it's like, don't mess with this guy. He's connected, or or he's a dangerous person. And that's where Eddie ends up not quitting pool. Like, he's like, okay, fine, I won't step in a pool hall ever again. And obviously we see that in Color of Money, where he ends up selling liquor the rest of his for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's kind of the end of the movie. But I'm curious, what do you think happens to? And we'll end with this. What do you think happens with Burt Gordon and Minnesota Fats? What do you think happens to those characters after the end of this movie?
I don't know. I think they continue on a little bit with their symbiotic relationship. Um, but in terms of like uh, Bert demanding his money and Minnesota Fat saying just give him his money. I don't think it was a scare or something like scare, but it's more like advice saying like just give him what he thinks he's owed and then be done with him. Because it's
Do you
like
think? Do you think that's what it was? To be honest, like
well
the
because
way
because essentially ostensibly they went into like a business contract with each other. When when Eddie decided to hook up with Bert and like Bert be his backer. They essentially got into a contract. And so and the contract was for what it was like 75% or whatever he's owed. And so I think I think he was giving him like more or less business advice, saying just fulfill the contract, give him what he's owed, and then just be done with it.
The only reason I thought like he was scared is because I'm sure that he's seen Bert take care of other people. Like I think
Well, I
there's
mean,
something there.
I think he knows like the nature or character of Bert. I mean, like Bert even admits as much because he talks about like oh, I'll send guys after you and they won't just break your thumbs. And I think that's he was saying like he was the one that broke Eddie's thumbs in the first place.
Oh, you think that like the when he went to that pool hall, like the CD one,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
they
Yeah, they were
oh
under orders from Bert.
oh shit.
Yeah, and so that's why I think Minnesota was actually just not afraid, but he was just giving him some like good business advice. And it's like just give him what he's owed, and just be done with it.
Shit. I didn't even think about that. I thought that was a whole separate incident. Damn. I didn't that makes so much sense.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, he knew that he broke his fingers, but he said like, oh yeah, I'll send guys after you, and they'll do more than just break your thumbs.
Oh fuck. Yeah, you're right. Damn. Yeah, because I was wondering, it's like, man, what happens to Bert after this? Because like, but yeah, he probably just continues on and like we just never I wonder, like, because Color of Money happens, obviously, like Eddie is no longer playing pool,
Hmm.
but I think after like it's been a long time. I'm pretty sure Bert has died by that point.
Hmm.
Same thing with like Minnesota Fats. I'm pretty sure he's dead
Hmm.
or like he's irrelevant at that point.
Right.
Um, and obviously Eddie is because he's a young guy in The Hustler,
Yeah.
and he's now like kind of like the older guy. Um, but yeah, this movie is dark. It's fascinating. The characters are awesome. I I love this movie. I have no, like I said, I don't have anything really else to say about it. I think everything about it is really good.
Mm. Yeah, it's a good one.
Should we give a rating?
Yeah, let's give it a rating.
I honestly, this is when you think of pool movies, when you think of gambling movies, this is the godfather of gambling movies. It's great. The character's great. Paul Newman, Jackie Gleason, George C. Scott, Piper Laurie, they're all great in it.
Uh huh.
Uh, I can't give this anything but a 5-star rating. It's great on every level.
Mm. Yeah, I'm gonna come in and just under and give it a 4. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. It's a great movie. Um, but just a little bit of storytelling was just not there for me. Um, I don't think it was as tight as it could have been. Uh,
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Like the movie we're gonna be doing next time is Pool Hall Junkies. That's definitely a much tighter script.
mhm.
Um, but man, I don't know. This is just to me. I see what you're saying. I agree, but I think it almost I could almost see this movie being like another hour. I would like to explore some of the more of the relationships. So it's almost like I didn't get quite enough, and it's like, but it's also like the perfect to me. It was perfect, the perfect length at the same time.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm not saying that anything any like a scene was like wasted or anything, but I just don't think uh, I just don't think the storytelling part was quite there. There's a lot of I think well I mean not necessarily it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think there's like some elements of the story that I wish were maybe fleshed out better because I mean like the hostility like because like you were saying like the hostility that Bert had for Sarah it seemed like it came out of nowhere. Like I don't like
Yeah,
it's not really it's not well understood why he has like this initial hostility towards her. And so
I would have liked to see more of that. You're right. I agree with that.
yeah, or something a
Why that
little bit
happened?
more explicit as to why you know why he has this hostility towards her. He could have said like, oh, there could have been a line where it's like, oh, you know what they say about women and money, and then blah 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 blah, and that could have been a dig at Sarah, and so that
Right.
and that way it's a little bit more explicit, like why there was this initial hostility, but yeah, I mean, again, not saying that this is a bad movie. It's just
No, no.
for me the
I know you're
for me
not
the
saying that.
storytelling was just like a little too loose, and I just wish it was like tightened up just a little bit more.
All right. So you're at a 4. I'm at a 5. All right.
That's pretty good. All right, well that's our review for The Hustler. Rob gives it a 5. I give it a 4. Definitely would recommend it. It's still a great movie. Um, you know, definitely something to put on the queue.
Oh yeah, you got if you like gambling movies, you have got to watch this.
Hmm. Absolutely. All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our stream tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
I had a fantastic time. Tuesday is my favorite day of the week.
And I hope it's all yours. Ooh, don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circular Jerks main podcast, episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us this week. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good one.